T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Welcome to the Trap Talk Reptile Podcast. I'm your boy, MJ. If this is your first time tapping in, do your boy a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. That way you're on top of every single podcast I drop here on this channel. If you're into keeping reptiles, either breeding, keeping, admiring, all the above, then this is the channel to be a part of. You're tapped into the best. Telling you right now, we have a great guest tonight. Hope you guys are ready. Shout out to everyone in the early birds. I see you guys. Before we get into tonight, I got to say that tonight's episode is brought to you by Miguel Garcia, Always Evolving Pythons. Please head over to Instagram. Follow my boy Miguel on Instagram. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Shout out to the entire Always Evolving Python family. AEP doing big things, heavy things, historical things, and I appreciate the love and support. And yeah, man, please also go follow his MORPH market. He has a lot of heat coming, and best believe that it's going to be amazing. Looking forward to seeing what Miguel does this year. He's already making big progress and big moves. So big salute to Miguel Garcia and the entire Always Evolving Pythons family. This episode is also brought to you by Freedom Breeder, the #1 stainless steel RHACS made in the United States since the 90s. Okay, I'm telling you right now, the #1 breeder RHACS for sure, from what I could tell. And I got to say, Jesse, shout out to the entire Freedom Breeder family, entire Freedom Breeder crew. Thank you for everything that you guys do over there and for just kind of consistently being the #1 breeder rack system in the game. Guys, I got to say thank you so much for being here tonight. If you want to see what I have going on other than podcast stuff, do yourself a favor, head over to Instagram and follow your boy on IG, Trap Talk God 619. I share a lot of my own animals and what I have going on project-wise, and just very active on Instagram. So hit me up on IG and go follow the podcast's page on IG as well, the Trap Talk Reptile Podcast on Instagram. If you're looking to be a part of an awesome, sick-ass community full of trappers and just people who are about this for the long run, the long take, or if you just want to tap in, if you want to market yourself, if you're new or been in the game and just feel like your circle isn't, what you want, well, then check out the Trap Talk Patreon family today. Don't sleep on us. I'm telling you right now, we are the #1 Patreon family in the game. And as soon as you join the Patreon family, you get a link to the Discord, which will tap in with over 160 real deal trappers. I want to say shout out to my Patreon members. I love you guys so much. Seriously, for all the love and support. It's going to be an amazing year. That's all I got to say. It's going to be awesome. And exclusive content coming really soon. I have so much stuff lined up, and I'm about to just finally be able to blow a lot of this content out. So best way to catch all that stuff first and foremost is going to be on the Patreon page. So go join the Patreon family. I love my Patreon family. Early birds, what is good? Who's here? Who's ready to rock and roll? I know there's going to be a lot of people in this building ready to rock and roll for tonight. The homie Jordan in the building. What's up, Jordan? Heartland Reptiles. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Thanks for being here. God, let me fix my camera, man. One thing I haven't figured out is I'm not happy with this angle or the view or like what I have. And I know I'm just something I probably should figure out, but I'm just not happy with it. I don't know. I need to fuck with it more. Sorry. All right. Jordan, Heartland Reptiles in the building. Thanks for being here. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Appreciate your love and support. 217 Pythons in the building. Thank you so much. Trap Talk Patreon member. Shout out to the homie Will. Please go give Will a follow. And then also House of Hiss in the building. Trap Talk Patreon members all day, every day. Appreciate you two so much. The homie Brian from Heath and Hatchery in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Appreciate your support, dog. Really means a lot, Brian. The homie Cohen's Constrictors. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. The homie Row 5.0 all day, every day. Rocking that. Dude, how's your trap heat? First and foremost, drop a comment. Let me know how everything's been established, or you can shoot me a text, either way. But please go get my boy Vibe with Ro on Instagram a follow. Big things pop with my boy Ro. Eclipse in the building, Sweden. player in the building for sure. Trap Talk Patreon member. Andy's a part of the YouTube members. What's up, man? How you been? Thanks for being here, and very, very happy that you're here for sure. JKJ Reptiles in the building. What's up, player? This fool got trap heat as well. So make sure you tap into homie JKJ Reptiles on Instagram. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. The homie Levi doing big things, making big moves in the reptile podcasting world. So make sure you go check him out. And Chris, Sex and Flexing all day, every day. Such a sick guys reptile podcast. Keep hustling, guys. I appreciate you guys. Dougie Fresh in the building. Hissy Fit Reptiles. What's up, Doug? Thanks for being here. Shoveling a couple feet of snow in Wisconsin. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what that's like. I have no idea what any of that's like. God bless you. I just put a shirt on right now. I'm doing great over here in California. But Doug, I wish you all the best. Thank you for listening while you're being miserable. Hopefully, listening to me and Corey talk won't make your situation as bad. But anyways, thanks for tapping in. Go give my boy Doug a follow on Instagram. Hissy Fit Reptiles in the building. Appreciate you so much. Wesley in the building. Sunshine State Sulfurs. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Piyush Patel. Piyush, don't always butcher your name, buddy. I hope I say it right. Piyush Patel. That should be a ball python name. I think that should be a morph for sure. I would invest in that. Anyways, thanks for being here, buddy. Appreciate you. Mark Anderson in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Appreciate you so much. Let's see. SH Pythons in the building. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Reptifari. What's up, buddy? Thanks for being here. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Big Mike. 1776 Exotics. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. The homie Peter in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Big Keys Constrictor in the building, or Keisha, either one. Trap Talk Patreon members, appreciate you guys so much. Aurora Exotics in the building. Thank you so much for being here. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. LMK Reptiles. What's up, Ken? Thanks for tapping in with us. I appreciate you. Galaxy Reptiles in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Chip Indo in the building. What's up, Big Chip? Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. What a guy. Alice in the building. Hi, Alice. How are you? Thanks for being here, Alice. Derek Pides in the building. What's up, D Pides? Thanks for tapping in. The homie Aaron in the building. What's up, Prolific Pythons? And then look who's right underneath him, his cousin, Jacob Letterbetter Fetter. What do you know? What a guy. Jeremy Bod's Exotics Reptiles. By the way, both Trap Talk Patreon members. Okay, we have the professor of the Patreon family. So if you have morph questions or you need to ID something because you feel like you're right, but you're really wrong, you got to go to Jacob. I'm telling you right now. This is my guy. That's my secret weapon right there. Thank you so much for being a part of this, Jacob. Appreciate you so much. Let's see who else is here. The homie JMH Reptiles in the building. What is up? And then we're going to end this in style. We're going to end this with the homie Emilio Villarino from Villarino Reptiles, one of the biggest players out of Florida right now. I'm not going to lie. Just don't sleep on my guy, Emilio, please. All right. And who's ready for Tinley? That's all I got to say. Tinley is less than a month away. I'm all booked. Everything's ready to rock and roll. I hope you guys are ready. Do me a favor. Drop a comment in the comment section. Don't sleep on the comment section, okay? I have a good incentive for you, okay? Because I am sending off about 10 stickers. Shout out to everyone who dropped a comment in the last episode. But this time, if you drop a comment, not only will I send you a sticker, okay, but this can only be like the first 3 because I only have 3. I have 3 of these to give out. You know what this is? This is a collector item koozie. Red Mountain Herps, Marshall Mendez. Drop a comment, and you could get this with your sticker. Only have 3, though. Okay, that's it. First 3 to do it. Go do it. Guys, I hope you guys are ready. Early birds, I hope you guys are ready because it's about to go down. Like I said, when I say Canada's finest, in my world, I want to say for sure, hands down, one of my favorite Canadian ball python breeders since stepping foot into the game, not only with his work, but just him as a person, just what he's done for this industry. And we're going to talk all about it, man. So hope you guys are ready. Buckle up. It's going to get hot. It's going to get heavy. But tonight we have no other than Corey Woods of Corey Woods Reptiles. Episode 308 coming at you right now. Let's go. Choo! You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes, exclusive.
Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody
All right, we're live and direct with Corey Woods of Corey Woods Reptiles. What is up, Corey?
Hello, thank you for having me on the podcast today.
Dang.
And I know you've asked me a few times to come back, so I'm here now.
All right, good deal. It's been like what? It's been over 2 years, I would say, right? Since we've talked.
I think it's been about 2 years. Yeah.
How you been, man? What's new with you?
I've been good, and I know you've asked me to come on a few times. I told you this last week. It's like, I don't know, I'm a boring person. You asked me to come on. It's like I don't know. Do people even want to see me on here? So what do I have to talk about?
Well, let me worry about that. Okay, Corey. How about you just hang out, okay? No, but listen, I gotta say that's kind of the reasons why I respect you so much, is because I feel like you have such a crazy flow of life that you really don't have time to just see who really is like liking you and all this stuff. But man, you've always had mad respect on your name ever since, like I said, stepping foot in the game in 2017 and figuring out, because like I said, I talked about this before on my show quite a bit, that I got into hypo when I could have gotten a DG, and then what really sucked me into hypo was seeing like a line of orange ghost, and which we're going to talk about. I don't want to get right into the meat and potatoes, but once I started seeing your work of orange ghost and just seeing a real dedication to that line, it suckered me in, and then that's why it was so important for me to get you on the show a couple years ago. And anyway, so I mean, listen, you're shit. I don't want to overdo and say you're a hero of mine, but you're definitely like, I like to look at it like this, right? Like the way I first came into this and looked at you breeders were like the way I used to look at WWF superstars when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like I was really into wrestling as a young child, and my dad would take me to these events, and I used to think, wow, can I be these people? So I came into this snake game in love so much that I just wanted to do what you guys were doing. I mean, it just looked like something I would just wanted to be more informed about, those good old first 2 years in it or whatnot. Anyway, I still had that same fire in me. Don't get me wrong. But anyways, I'm happy you're here, Corey, and I'm not the only one. That's all I got to say.
All right.
Dude, so what's going on? Okay, I want to talk about, because I know that you had some, a part of a political background with where you live, mayor of a township or something like that. Can we kind of talk? Can we retouch on that or whatnot? Because it is a part of. If anyone didn't pay attention to the thumbnail, you do have some like a badge that's kind of giving you your title. And if you can't read it out there, it's township. I can't even read that city. What is that? Township of what? Gallup? You say it, please, Corey. I'm not going to butcher that. I'm sorry.
So we live in the township of Guelph, Aramasa. Back in the day, there was a township of Guelph, a township of Aramasa. I guess nobody's very creative, so when they amalgamated, it's now the township of Guelph, Aramasa. I was first elected as a township councilor back in 2010, and there's a whole history behind why I ran and how I got involved. I can go through that if you want, or I can skip over that. But
was it reptile related? Can you refresh my memory? Like I know you talked about that, but it was a couple of years ago, and I would like to maybe just refresh on it. That'd be great.
Yeah. So I actually grew up in Guelph, Aramasa. My parents' house is 10 minutes down the road. But of course, like any young person, it's like, okay, I'm ready to leave the nest. I want to go get my own house. I can't afford a property out in the country. So I packed up all my reptiles out of my parents' house and moved to the closest city, which actually happens to be the city of Guelph. Well, of course, they have, bylaws against reptiles. And so, I guess unbeknownst to me, they caught on to me keeping reptiles through, I use at that time 3 houses worth of hydro. Mm-hmm. So I guess the police were tailing me there for a bit. And like anything people do, in this industry, it's like, okay, I didn't want to have people over to my house. You want to buy something? I'll go meet you at a parking lot. It looks like a drug deal. So, I met some people for some stuff. I give them a box. It was actually frozen rodents. I gave them a box of frozen rodents. They gave me an envelope full of money. I go home. The police knock on my door, say, hey, Mr. Woods, what are you doing? you know, we just, you know, we've been surveilling you for 3 weeks, and, you know, it looks like you just did a drug deal. Since we've been following you, we can tell you don't work. Where do you get your money? How are you doing all this stuff? So they had a search warrant. So I said, come on in, guys, you're going to see a whole bunch of snakes. And I remember the 2 police officers there. They were like, so what are we going to see? I'm like, you're going to see snakes. And they're like, no, really, what are we going to see? I'm like, you're going to see a whole bunch of snakes. And they're like,
wait, what year was this, Corey? Remind me the year.
This would have been in 2007.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And so they had gone to a judge. They already had the search warrant. They had everything. So it's like, I'm like, come on in. You're going to see snakes. So, you know, they came in. They saw a whole bunch of snakes. They had a whole team of guys ready to cut down plants and the whole deal. Dragged me off to prison, and it's, you know, the snakes weren't legal, but they weren't marijuana plants. So, you know, and now marijuana is legal in Canada. You can have 4 plants.
Right.
No problem.
Wait,
so
they took you to prison?
No, they were ready to, if I had to grow up in my basement, they were ready to take me to prison, and they had a whole team of guys ready to cut down marijuana plants.
That's what they were expecting, right?
That's what they were expecting, because I was using 3, you know, homes worth of hydro. Now I use 5 homes worth of hydro. But so you know, took them through. I showed them every room in the house. You know, I showed them the frozen rodents. I showed them all the snakes. I was still against the bylaw. The exotic animal bylaw. And at the time, you know, I was seeing my now wife, and we were looking to buy a house together anyway. So it's like, I grew up in Guelph-Aramasa. Let's move back to Guelph-Aramasa. And after the fact, I actually helped the city of Guelph change their bylaw. Ball pythons are now legal in the city of Guelph. But because of that experience living in the city, when we moved out here back to where I grew up, it's like, I'm going to start going to the township meetings. I did all my research. I made sure there was no exotic animal bylaws. I'm, you know, we're on an agricultural property, but I have commercial zoning.
Right.
I made sure everything was above board. And so I started to go to all the council meetings. I was worried that they were going to want to try and get rid of me, because it's like, oh, they just hear this guy with snakes, you know, moved in. You know, I didn't want them to try and run me out of town. I didn't want to have, you know, another search warrant or anything like that. So I started going to the local council meetings. I ended up going to more of the meetings than my actual counselor. And so when the next election came up, you know, the mayor and a couple of the other councilors said to me, well, you're actually coming to the meetings. Why don't you run in and get elected? So that was back in 2010. I ran against 2 people and 2 other people and won the seat. And then I've been able to maintain the seat. So I'm in my 4th term now.
Wow.
So
that's inspiring, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this should be inspiring to almost anybody who does this for some sort of financial benefit. Like if you could be a voice in your own area, but this kind of spreads like something like we all do. I mean, I know some of us can only go so far, but still, like, how do you know until you know? Like, they literally just told you to you know, like, hey, just do it.
Yeah.
That's nuts. I mean, but that's kind of eye-opening, because, you know, here in America, we're obviously fighting a lot of legislations that just pop out of left field, and maybe it's because no one's speaking up, and so they're just coming out of things out of their butt. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Anyways,
and so
that's inspiring. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm in my 4th term as a councillor, but I'm also the deputy mayor, and I've been the deputy mayor for Guelph-Aramasa Township since 2014. And, you know, you kind of always have.
What is that? I'm sorry, Corey, I didn't mean to cut you up, but what does that really mean? Like, so what are your duties throughout the year, or is it just like quarterly? What is it that you need to do as a deputy mayor?
We end up having about, depending on the season, we could have anywhere from, you know, 4 to 10 meetings a month. Because I'm the deputy mayor, I have signing authority. I can sign checks. I can sign, you know, I can sign bylaws. All of the emergency management training. I mean, you guys are in the US. you know, the local mayors in Ohio are dealing with that train derailment as well as other people. If that were to happen here, I'd be one of the people involved, you know, dealing with that through an emergency management perspective. But, you know, I sit on local boards. I chair the Heritage Committee. I'm on the Cemetery Board. I'm involved with the county through the Wellington County Economic Development Committee. So, you know, I am involved locally, and, you know, I'm always obviously advocating for reptiles, but there is that kind of fine line where, you know, I'm a politician that keeps reptiles, but where do you kind of draw the line? You know, other municipalities don't necessarily like you, you know, telling them what to do. So, you know, there's always this fine line. You know, I helped change the City of Cambridge bylaw a number of years ago. But again, there's always this fine line where it's like, oh, yes, I'm a counselor, but I'm here as my capacity as, you know, keeping reptiles. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here giving, you know, my opinion on what you should do. Because again, you know, you don't want to offend the people that you're trying to get them to do what you want.
Well, yeah, nobody wants to be told what to do first and foremost, right? So it's like, and especially when they've been doing it for however long, like, that's the thing. There's a lot of people right now who are in shell shock in this country because they've been doing their thing for years, like however they do it, right? And now they're in a county where shit's possibly or hitting the fan. You know what I mean? So, and it's scaring them. It's like putting them like, which it would scare me too. But like I said, like, you know, I don't know. Like, for instance, you did something about it, and I feel like, you know, even me speaking in a place where, even though I'm in a county or I'm in a place where I feel like our laws are good, especially because I don't keep any venomous or anything, I just stick to what I stick to. You know, I even think proactively we could like see if we could be a part of something. You know what I mean? I don't know. I really think it's awesome because, like you like I said, you could have just let this fold into something where, shit, I don't know, like they probably could have made a law against what you're doing because, you know, who the hell's speaking up on it? You know?
Yeah. Well, and I find that, you know, people always want somebody else to do something for them. You know, it's like, I don't want to do this. I want you to do it for me.
So true.
And, you know, I would encourage everybody to get involved, you know, whichever way they can. And, you know, again, you know, I was first elected, you know, every year I chair the Heritage Committee. Every year we have a barbecue. So it's like, the mayor's here, the other councilors are here, the Heritage Committee members are here. I showed them all the snakes, and the first thing out of all of their mouths were like, what's the big deal? Like, why are people afraid of these, you know? And so if you try and educate people, not in like a forceful way, you know, and I do help people to, you know, try and give them advice if they ask for it. And you know, sometimes people have crazy ideas. It's like, oh, I'm going to go to my local council with some snakes and show them and they'll understand. It's like, no, don't do that. You know, you want to show it in a positive way, not a negative way.
Thank you, Corey. You already have people coming at you in the chat. It's like, how are you going to say you're not interesting when you, like, we could actually be like, you're an example of what we need to be in this country. I'm telling you right now, especially because there are so many people out there who just make money off reptiles. So trust me, they got time. They can figure it out. You know what I mean? I'm curious. So can you make it okay to keep venomous if that's the case? Like, do you have that much pull where you're like, hey, listen, you can keep cobras here if you want? Like, is it like that?
That we can keep cobras here if we want. Anyway, there's no. If I decided, hey, I want to put up a higher fence, I can have a giraffe if I want. But you know, I don't have any desire to have a giraffe. But yeah, there are no exotic animal bylaws in Guelph-Amasa Township. And I know other municipalities around, you know, are interested in changing bylaws. You know, some of them have, you know, bylaws that have been on the books for 40, 50 years. But they need, again, they don't want an outsider to come in. They need somebody that actually lives in that municipality to contact the mayor and council and say, hey, you've got a bylaw from 1965 that says, you know, snakes are banned. You know, maybe you should look at that. You know, because honestly, you know, a township should look at their bylaws every 10 years. you know, make sure they're not out of date, make sure they're still relevant. But yeah, they want local people to show up, not an outsider. So again, I encourage people to get involved.
Yeah, we can't just hire Corey Woods to show up to our courts for us. Like it's just not going to work like that. It has to.
Well, and I'm in another country. I don't even live in the U.S. So yeah.
We could dress you up though, man. You look good. Well, you know what I mean. Well, you know, I got to ask you, what do they think of your hairstyle?
So I still the mohawk's a little long now. I haven't cut it since 2020.
That's so epic. Oh
yeah.
My gosh, that's so hard.
And yeah, it's, you know, I won I ran against two people last year and obviously won the election again. And so there's
a debate or what? How'd that go down?
So no, it's a regular election. There's 444 municipalities in the province of Ontario, and we all have the election at the same time. And anybody can put their name in. It costs $100. You put your name in, and the public votes. And so two people ran against me, and you know I got double what they got. But yeah, I was able to retain my seat.
Dude. The champ. I love it. Honestly, that's very inspiring stuff because, you know, in the beginning of all this, Corey, I was trying to make an excuse to my wife why I was buying all these, because it all started with ball pythons, right? And I was telling her, I sold her on that dream, right? And then I was getting these other species, and also it was really started when I started getting big snakes. Like I started getting like mainly retics, and I told her how big they get, and she's like, why in the hell are you gonna want something this big? This makes no sense. And then I was like, well, I'm not gonna have a lot of them. I'm only gonna have a couple for educational purposes, because I did say to myself, I would love to go to school someday and like be able to break the fear of reptiles through a child. And because I remember doing that as a kid. I remember my dad bringing my snakes to my 4th grade class. Everyone was so fascinated. I don't remember one kid in the corner. Like even the ones who were scared had to look. It's like something you have to look at, especially as a child, right? And so, but I also know that isn't just so easy. You can't just walk into a school and say, hey, I want to bring your animals. Like, you know, like there's some sort of like, is it like a nonprofit or something? Like, is it like, do you even know anything about that as far as like what would I need to set up for something like that? Or if anybody out there is looking to do something like that someday?
Yeah, and I believe most people that, you know, if they want to get into doing, you know, shows and educational, they go the nonprofit route. I don't believe you have to, but I think just from, you know, insurance liability, you know, all that stuff, it's easier to go that way. But that's, you know, that's not really the area I want to go. I always have this struggle. So it's I hear you. I'm an introvert. I don't want to leave the house. Amen. But then and so people say to me, you know, if you're an introvert, how can you go and, you know, run in an election and knock on a stranger's door and say, hey, you know, vote for me? And, you know, I guess I'm an extroverted introvert in things that I'm passionate about. But my default is always like, you know, I just want to stay at home and basically play with snakes. So, right, you know, to say to me, you know, hey, do you want to go take some snakes to a birthday party? That's like my nightmare. We've got 2 young kids, 2 boys, 6 and 10, and I've taken animals to their classes and stuff like that. But I love it. That is, you do that for family, but that's not something that interests me. So I never looked into, you know, doing shows or educational or anything like that.
So wait, you don't have a YouTube channel of you going to schools and scaring teachers?
No, but I have done that. My wife has crested geckos, and there's a lot of animals that I can appreciate, but you know, they're not my thing. And I remember our youngest was in kindergarten, and you know, bring a turtle, bring us, you know, we've got some tarantulas, bring a tarantula, bring a couple, you know, ball pythons, and a crested gecko. Well, of course, as soon as I open up the lid of this crested gecko, it's like, I am gone. I am out of here. And it's like, oh my God, I got a room full of children that are now screaming because this little crested gecko decided to take off. And I was able to, you know, calmly corral this crested gecko, but I thought, oh my God, if I lose this thing, I'm never going to hear the end of it.
I mean, yeah, you know, but you know, it's like it's a crested gecko too. You know what I mean?
It's a crested gecko. It's not like it was a Nile monitor or something. It's, you know.
Which then we have a whole other situation on our hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anyway, so yeah, I hear you. I like I said, I'd rather take one for the team for my kid one day. Like, all right, we'll go ahead and do this maybe once or twice a year, but I'm not looking for a profession out of this. And mind you, this was just me thinking of what I would want to do, because my wife had a point. She's like, why the hell do you want these big animals other than just me being fascinated by them? Like they cost money, and I'm not I'm not in no position, right? So I always thought, well, this, because how tame I have them and how I take them out, I'm like, this could be like a great like icebreaker, I feel like. But man, no, thank you, I'm good. I don't want anything to do with that. I mean, you come over to my house, we'll have a good time. Maybe my kid's classroom someday, but that's it. I'm not gonna. I did a mansion party once, and it was like, it was a bunch of drunk people, and it was just like not a good situation, because they're trying to take off with the snakes, and I'm like, no, you have to stay right here. And you know, I got paid a lot of money, but yeah, I was like, I'm never doing this again, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, and like the first snake that I kept, the first reptile I kept were turtles when I was a little kid. But you know, the first snake that I kept was a ball python. But the first snake that I bred were Burmese pythons. So I do have, I bred blood pythons. I kept retics, carpet pythons. Yeah, I had chondros. I had a bunch of stuff, but I found with the big stuff, looking back, it's like maybe I should have kept one Burmese just to, have one, but they're big. They eat a lot. They poop a lot.
They're nothing like retics though, man. Retics are the worst. I'm telling you right now, if it comes to like back breaking, like, why do you want this snake? Own a mainland reticulated python. I feel like Burmeses are like, but the thing is, I don't know. They're just, if you want to talk about a pet snake, you can't go wrong with a Burmese. Burmeses, I feel like, are the best, like real true puppy giant snake that you could have. Anacondas on some scales, but I would trust a Burmese more than anaconda all day, every day. But yeah, that's just my take.
Well, and when I keep stuff, it's like, okay, I want to work with it. I want to do a bunch with it. And again, it's like I had 9 adult Burmese pythons at one point, and you just get to it where it's like,
what am I doing?
I was looking at it, and it's like, how many hundreds of ball pythons can I keep in the space of these 9 Burmese pythons that, on feeding day want to kill me? They're having these, 5-pound poops with 2 liters of pee every time. And it's like, it's like, I want things to be a little bit easier here than dealing with these bigger guys, but I can definitely do it.
My biggest pushover though was like I feel like if I was a real true homebody, and I am, trust me, I try to stay home when I can, but the reality is I'm not. I leave time for time, and the real stress was leaving these fucking snakes in other people's hands. And even like a Burmese, for the most part, is fine. I remember I had this Burmese named Pebbles, and she was pretty big before I got rid of her. But if something were to happen in her cage, I totally trust, like, head tapping her and doing your thing, you're fine, right? But I had about 12 other retics where I would tell them, don't touch, do not, nope, don't even go in there. If it needs water, put another water bowl in there, and that's it. Just don't touch it. You know what I mean? For good reason. You know what I mean? Like, just because I don't I've been wrapped multiple times. I've said the story about my dad taking 17 stitches on his hands for my first dwarf adult male. Like, so I just seen it. Like, you don't want that situation to go down.
Well, out of the first shipment of super dwarf retics to come to Canada, I got 3 of the babies. I had
from who?
There was a guy, he imported some from I forget the guy's name in Indo, but I think they came in 97 or 98.
Wow.
I've got a copy of all the CITES permits and all that stuff when they came in.
Wow.
And when they landed in Canada, the guy asked me to come over and take pictures. So I came over and took pictures of all of them. And then I picked out these 3 retics, and I kept them for a number of years. The reason I sold them, so I believe there was about 50 retics came in. None of the bags were labeled. So we were going back and forth with the exporter to be like, okay, where were these collected? What islands? So I think I ended up with a Jampia and 2 KU Addies. And this the two smaller ones, they were all the same age. You know, two of them got 5 feet, one of them got about 10 feet. And the 10-footer, the reason I sold them, the one day I picked them up and she sprayed me from top to bottom. I had shit in my mouth. It was that day I said, these things are out of here. I am not doing that again. And
oh man. And that's the thing, like, listen, as much as it was heartbreaking to get rid of my mainlands, like I knew I was doing the right thing. Like my super dwarfs, like they're not quite what they are, but they're just as exactly the same thing. Like as far as like behavioral stuff, the shit, poo. But I got to tell you right now, one thing I didn't realize, because one of my biggest mistakes and faults, by the way, that's not my cat. People keep thinking that's my cat. I don't own a cat. That's Corey Wood's cat. Okay. Just so you guys know.
We got 3 cats.
3 cats. Okay. 3 cats in the building, 1 player. So let's go. But like the same thing could go down with the super dwarf. And mind you, let's hold on. Before I lose my train of thought, I want to talk about these quote unquote super dwarfs that you first got in. You said Kawati and Jampea, right? Yeah.
So that none of the bags were labeled. And so we're going back and forth with, I think it was Duncan McRae in Indo. And we're going back and forth, and he's like, oh, you got to look at the eye color and the eye stripe and trying to figure out, you know, because it was literally, here's a shipment with 50 bags and nothing's labeled. It's just a box, styrofoam bags, and that's it. And so it's like, where did these things come from? You know, there's a lot of islands over in Indo, and, you know, we're trying to figure these things out. And, you know, for me, if they're all the same age, they all eat, you know, their retics eat every week. You know, if 2 of them get 5 feet and 1 of them gets 10 feet, they're different. They're not the same.
Yeah. What's crazy is right now, because like, you know, the fact that I pushed out what I loved and I still kept the super dwarfs, which I love. I want to breed super dwarfs because I feel like, you know, it's doable with the super dwarfs because what we're talking about, but there's a lot of belief and push here in the United States about like you can make anything a super dwarf, and that's the fact, and all this other shit. And I feel like, you know, I have people who've been a part of this who don't even like the term super dwarf. They feel like that's kind of a bullshit term because they're just snakes from a certain part of this world that get limited resources of certain types of food. And because of that, generationally, throughout so many years, they only get so big. But if you feed that to what you feed them, if you feed what you feed a mainland to a super dwarf for 20 years, that snake will get giant. It will get big at some point. But we're talking about snakes that come specifically from a certain part of the world and their islands, their chain of islands, right?
Yeah. So
I don't know. I feel like people just need to pay attention to that and understand that there are people out there who truly work, die hard to this super dwarf project stuff. And I have to ask you, the super dwarf term, when did that pop up? Because if you've got this in the 90s, I'm sure they weren't calling them in super dwarfs in the 90s, right?
I don't really think they really knew what to call them, you know, way back when. And so, you know, I just knew that I had 2 that were different. You know, I had a pair that were super small, you know, wrapped up. They were smaller than an adult female. They took up, you know, less, you know, square footage. And, you know, then the third one, which was a female, you know, she was just that much bigger. And, you know, if at the time they were only collecting from a few islands, you know, again, we didn't go there personally and collect them. So when it's like, okay, one got bigger, if everybody's calling the bigger ones super dwarfs, I guess that's a super dwarf. If everybody's calling the smaller ones KU Addies, I guess I've got a pair of KU Addies. But again, it's like anything else. You know, you see it with boas, you see it with green tree pythons, you know, with Central American boas. If Honduras shuts down, they'll collect them in Honduras, smuggle them over to Nicaragua, and ship them out of Nicaragua. You know, if Guyana goes down, they'll ship them out of Suriname. They're all Suriname boas now. So, you know, because we didn't personally go to Indo and collect them, and we were getting limited information from the exporter, it's like, okay, you know, we need to call these guys something. If it's kind of popular to, if everybody recognized KU Addy and Super Dwarf, I guess that's what came in. But again, we weren't there. We didn't collect them. So and is every island different? Probably.
Right.
But yeah, we could get limited information from the exporter.
I mean, this is going to bridge perfectly to what we're going to talk about. Hey, we're 40 minutes in. Hey, guys, I got to say the likes are respectable, but they could be a lot better for this guy right now. So why don't we get the likes up before we get into the orange ghost talk right now, because it's going to get juicy. Because like I said, before I was a hypo guy, I was an orange ghost guy. Orange ghost was the very first morph I ever obtained. Like what I mean by that, the very first snake I ever got was an orange ghost Mojave. Turns out to be pastel after all. So, and I'll never forget the look on this guy's face. This was 2016. He sold me this snake for $70 on Craigslist. And I went to it like it was like a trailer park. You know, I was like, and like I could just like tell he was desperate for money. And like he was like, and it was a good, like the snake was healthy. It was one of those people who like took better care of the animals than they did themselves. And I'm just like, holy shit, what the fuck? And he's like, I'm really attached to this snake, man. Like this snake's gonna be special. And he shut out the genetics. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like I was just like, I just want this snake, buddy. But once I started to tap into the world of ball pythons and started talking to people, they're like, oh, orange ghost is this. And then I heard orange ghost is ghost, or orange ghost is hypo. They're the same thing, and that it's just a marketing term with this orange ghost, and that it's the same thing and all this. Are we talking about the same thing here with this orange ghost and hypo, or what's the story behind the orange ghost and hypo being separately labeled if people really by heart say they're the same thing? I'm confused.
Well, I guess I have a different experience than most people, because I actually have 3 lines of ghosts now that are not compatible with one another.
Tell me more.
And I believe that most of the orange ghosts, although not all, because I have one that's not compatible, but most of the orange ghosts are hypo. I think when people say hypo, you know, they're referring to orange ghost. And you know, I started working, you know, my first orange ghost female came from Nerd back in 1998. And so I've been working with orange ghost now for 25 years. So, you know, I love ghost. I want to breed ghost into everything. And I find, I want to say nowadays, but it hasn't changed in the last 25 years, where, you know, people want the newest thing out there. So when you say to people, oh, orange ghost has been around for 25 years, they're like, no, I don't want that. That's boring. And it's like, well, I love it. I make everything orange ghost. Some stuff, you know, if it doesn't suit me, you know, I only work with stuff that I like, which again can sometimes, you know, people want sometimes to be told what to keep. And when they say to me, what should I keep? I'm like, well, buy what you like. That's not what they want to hear. They want to be told what to keep.
I can't stand that. I'm just like, but that's just being lazy though. That's just like just tell me what I need. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't like, it's kind of like, what do you fucking want? It's like, I don't know, like, no offense. I love my wife. I love all the women out there who like can't decide what they want to eat, but there has to be an idea. Like give me an idea. Give me something. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. Just pick something. And then you pick something, they don't want it. So it's like, and that's the same thing with your customers. Sometimes you show them something and they're like, nah, what else you got? And I'm like, dude, you need to go out there and go look, and then come back when you're ready. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I think getting back to the orange ghost, you know, typically speaking, when people refer to hypo or ghost or orange ghost, they're all talking, I think, about the same snake. You know, and a number of them have come in wild caught. There's not one line anymore. There's a number of different lines. You know, orange ghost, hypo, and you know. I do a lot of stuff with that line. Back in 2000, I want to say 2004, I want to say, a guy locally had a pet snake that was from Africa, but it was a long-term established adult female. And that's what started my green ghost line. So, you know, he had contacted me, again, I believe 2003, 2004, he's like, I got a snake that looks like an orange ghost, you know, are you interested? And, in it. And I think at the time I had one of the only orange ghosts up here. And I'm like, no, dude, you don't have an orange ghost. Like it's not possible. You don't have a ghost. He's like, yeah, I got a ghost. I've had it for 20 years. I'm like, no, you don't. And then I went and seen it. I'm like, this thing's a ghost. You know, he's not lying. So I ended up buying that female and, you know, bred her, you know, got offspring, you know, bred them back to mom to figure out that it's genetic, then bred what I called at the time green ghost to orange ghost. They're not compatible. So I've kept them separate. And I know there's a number of different green ghost lines. It seems to be very popular in Japan. I send a lot of green ghost stuff to Japan, and there's a few people working with it in the States. I don't know if the other lines of, I know my line of green ghost is reproducible. I don't know if it's compatible with other stuff, but again, this was about 5 or 6 years ago. I got a hypo clown from Michael Cole. And he had got it from, I believe it came from Jeremy Stone. He just bought some het clowns and produced, you know, orange ghosts, or what he thought was orange ghosts. And I've now bred that into my orange ghost stuff, and it's not compatible. It's doing weird stuff. So that's not compatible, but it looks like an orange ghost. So there are lines of orange ghosts out there that aren't compatible. This is the first time I've run into one that isn't compatible. So there is at least one, this line of hypo clown that I'm working with. And I've since now gone out and got another line of orange ghost clown that's orange ghost.
I want people to listen to me out. And this is mainly the new people. And when I say new, people 5 years and less, like myself, okay? I made this mistake quite a bit because of hypo. Because of course everyone wants to hit what they want to hit. Like that's the thing. When you're new into this and you see a pip, sometimes your mind tells you what you want it to tell you, but it's really not the case, and you should kind of slow your roll, okay? Because there were so many times where I thought I was making 100% hets, hypos, because the other snake wasn't a hypo, right? But the snake came out looking quote unquote so hypo. And mind you, there's a lot of hypo-ish looking snakes when you first look at it, right? Like when you first kind of like, am I right or am I wrong? When it comes to like, sometimes you look at a snake and you go, wow, that's, you know, that could be a hypo, but no, it's not a hypo. So what I'm saying is, when you say there's no compatibility in what we're talking about here, there's zero sign of hyponess is what you're saying, or it's just not what you thought it was going to hit?
Yeah. So when I breed like if I say orange ghost, you know, I mean the regular lines of hypo or ghosts that are out there that have, you know, been out there for it. You know, I've been working with my line, or the orange ghost line, for 25 years.
Right.
So, you know, if I breed, you know, a pure visual orange ghost to a visual green ghost, and all the babies are normals, they're double hets. And then it's like, okay, now I don't want to breed those together. I ended up just selling those babies because it's like, I don't want to breed those together, because some of them are going to be orange ghosts, some of them are going to be green ghosts, and then some of them are going to be orange green ghosts. And it's like, can I even tell? If I have to be sure of what I'm selling, you know, when I sell a snake, I typically undersell it, not oversell it. You know, if I think it might have 3 genes, I'll sell it, you know, with unless I'm 100% sure. I say, okay, no, it's, you know, it's only got these 2 genes. And then if they get an extra gene, it's a bonus for them. But yeah, I want to be sure on the stuff that I'm selling. And, you know, the more genes that come out, the harder and harder that gets to be, especially when you're talking 4, 5, 6 gene animals. You're looking at stuff and, you know, what is it? I don't know. If it's stuff I'm holding back, it doesn't matter what it is. I'll figure it out later.
So as of right now, the hypo, out of the hypo family, the foundation, the leader front family member is going to be the orange ghost, you would say, for you.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And that's what I've been working with the longest.
I'm so happy to hear that, man, because I as much as I've been not like pushed over to believe that they're the same or whatever, I just, in my heart, has always, because of this first snake, I just seen that it's a different type of hypo compared to this other hypo stuff. And I don't know. And either way, I just love to hear that somebody that I've always respected in the game is foundationing their hypo off that, because there's so many things moving into the direction with the recessives, right? And I think the last time we talked, we weren't talking triple, quad recessives at all. I mean, I think we were, you know, even though they're floating out there or being talked about, it just wasn't a topic of conversation. It was I was too premature for that type of conversation, I feel like, even though nobody is. But what's going on with orange ghosts with other recessives? You know, because I know you're, is it a genetic stripe or a tri-stripe guy? I know you have one of those other powerful recessives going on in your projects right now.
Yeah, so I've always liked the tri-stripe, and you know, I missed out on getting the tri-stripe. You know, this is again way back in the day. Stefano in Germany, you know, he'd go to Africa every year. You know, he'd handpick stuff, bring it back to Germany, put it up on his website, and sell it. And I remember, I literally I saw this striped animal on his website, and I literally called him. Is a black striped animal, and I love black striped animals. So I called him, and I'm like, Stefano, I want that snake. That's mine. It's coming to Canada. And he's like, Colette Sutherland just called me. She just bought it. And it's like,
wow, Colette.
Fuck. So I missed out on the tri-stripe, but I mean, again, I don't have to be first with anything. So I mean, the tri-stripe's been out for a number of years. So I'm actually working with the D-stripe gene, which is very similar to tri-stripe. It comes out of, there's a guy named Ton Mersel, and he's in the Netherlands, and he originated the D-stripe. So he's proven it not to be compatible with the tri-stripe. I like to be, you know, I like different things. I like unique things. So it's like, when he's like, this is a striped animal, it's not compatible, it's like, okay, I want that one. And so I have a number of different, you know, D-striped animals. You know, some people have said to me, oh, well, why didn't you just go tri-stripe? That's easier. It's like, well, I don't like easy. I like hard. So.
I mean, that's kind of like, that's like the secret ingredient of what breeding is. Like if you could go the harder, longer route, it's the more reward for certain people. Some people just want quick results, you know what I mean? But you get what you wait and pay for, I feel like, you know what I mean? And that's why I'm glad, like I always preach how I was the most patient, and I'm still not patient, but when it comes to this shit, I'm just, my hands are in the air, because it's not up to me, it's up to all this and luck and all this stuff that happens and the market, you know what I mean? So you can't, that stuff you can't really stress. All you can do is do right by the animal and take care of them. I do want to talk about Japan, though, because on my list of things we need to talk about tonight are the importation. Like, one of the things, Corey, that made me want to be that breeder someday, to have, I don't know, how many clutches you have a year? What are your average clutches a year now? Where are you at?
It fluctuates anywhere, you know, from 220 clutches to like 260 clutches.
Okay, that's a lot. So
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Back in 2017, that was a goal of mine. Like first couple of years in this, I'm like, I would look at pictures, which I'll go ahead and pull up. But you have just like some iconic photos. And mind you, Corey, man, you don't miss a beat, buddy. Like you've had this profile picture for I don't know how long now. This has been your profile pic. Like you look chubby in here. Like this doesn't even look like you at all. But anyways, right here. These are the photos that I've seen you post for quite a while. And I'm like, holy shit, look at all those animals. And you know, more likely the caption would say like another importation or going here, Korea, whatever. Has this been the consistent like hustle for you throughout the whole entire career of your reptile you know, in the game, or are you still doing local sales too, like, or like within your own country? Like, what's going on? I'm curious on how much the importation has put you on at this point.
So I'd say about half of the sales are in Canada and then half are export. And I mean, I don't discriminate. I like money. You know, you're gonna pay, you're gonna send me money, I'm gonna send you snakes.
Amen, brother.
And so, you know, whether I sell it, you know, obviously I'm from Canada. I'm proud to be Canadian. I want to sell my animals to other Canadians. But if somebody from South Korea or Japan or anywhere around, I'm always getting inquiries from people. It's like, you know, can you ship to Indo? Probably. You know, if you can legally import, I can legally export.
Wow.
And, you know, because I've been around for a long time, you know, I like to keep my customers happy. And again, you have to be reasonable. The customer isn't always right.
No,
And, you know,
yeah, I'm glad you said that, because, you know, it's kind of like there's obviously a line that needs to be drawn with this whole customer, right? Because customers in general, even at like a retail center, are big, like they want to push you over. They want to get everything they can possibly get out of you. Not everybody, but sometimes you have to be the one to say, no, it's not going down like that. I'm sorry. And then you fucking have to lay the law down. You know what I mean?
well, and because I have, you know, I've just been lucky enough. Again, I've been doing this for a long time. You know, I think my first export would have been in, you know, probably around 2000 or 2001. I've been doing this, you know, exporting for 20 years or so. And, you know, again, I've just been lucky that I've dealt with a number of people. They keep coming back to me. But again, you don't want to be a pushover, you know.
Right.
Sometimes I find with people, it's like, okay, you know, they do 3 or 4 or 5 shipments, and then they're like, you know, hey, we're only going to pay you half price, and, you know, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, well, I'll sell it to somebody else. Like
It's
you know, the animals, you know, yeah, they're my passion, but, you know, they also have a value. And it's like, I'm not going to allow a customer to push me over. But again, I think my reputation's been built on, you know, I've been dealing with some of the same customers again for 20 years. And so it's like, I've got good animals. They can take those animals and sell them. Obviously, if they weren't making money, or, you know, they didn't like the quality, they wouldn't keep coming back. But, you know, I find with these big telecom companies, you've got different companies, and, you know, up here we've got Bell and Telus and Rogers, and I don't know who you've got down there for big, you know, telecom companies, but I find up here, and it's probably the same.
You talking about like community, like telecom, meaning like cell phone,
like who you said, like,
oh yeah, we have Verizon, AT&T, Sprint.
Yeah, so if, you know, I find that the telecom company, they only want new customers. They're like, we don't care about our existing customers. We just want new customers. You know, Verizon's going to be stealing customers from, you know, AT&T and back and forth. I'm not like that. You know, I want, and again, to a point, you got to be reasonable. But, you know, I don't want.
Corey, America's like that, okay? There's some ruthless, and I'm not going to speak terms as far as names go, but man, the higher it gets, the more ruthless it gets. I'm starting to find out, and I'm glad. I'm just with my popcorn, okay? I'm not one of these 15, 20K, 30K ball python investors, not yet at least, but I'm seeing the guys who've been in that realm and doing, and it's like, it's super backstabbing, bro. It's crazy. It's like
what. And that's why I want, if I've got an established relationship with somebody in South Korea or Japan,
yeah, you're good.
Or, you know, and I'm going to be shipping to Taiwan to a regular customer, you know, probably the end of March. And, you know, I want to keep them happy. Again, I don't allow them to take advantage of me. But if a new customer contacts me and an existing customer contacts me for the same snake, I sell it to the existing customer.
Right.
And, you know, I always, you know, yes, I want new customers, but I would rather satisfy an existing customers, where, you know, a lot of other businesses are different. It's like, we don't care about our existing customers. We just want new customers. And I'm not like that.
I mean, because obviously you're not desperate. I don't know you like this, but I'm just assuming that money isn't something that wakes you up out of bed. I don't think you're somebody who's watching your figure or seeing the numbers in your bank account every day. And there are people who just want to try to get as much as money as they can out of any situation, no matter who it is, who you are, no breaks. I don't give a fuck. And what's crazy is like I came from a world that obviously, you know, the drug world, right? You know, they're like if that warrant was from my house, Corey, I would have went to jail. Let's just say that back in my day. Okay. If it was the other way around. But when I came into this, I saw the kind of money that was going around. When it's good and when it's low, either way, if you have a good looking snake, it's going to sell. And that's good money. Like for a fucking snake, are you kidding me? For a ball python that you could stack a wall of just like, and I'm talking after 5-6 years of doing this, it's that easy, right? And so in my head, like, okay, so Miguel Garcia, this one of the sponsors of my channel, love you so much, Miguel. But like the way he would, like, I remember buying a snake off him, and not only was the price like discounted, he gave me like a free ivory. And to me, I never had an ivory, had nothing, no yellow belly, didn't know what a super codon was back in 2016 or 17, and I lost my mind. I'm like, this guy just gave me a snake like it was nothing, and I'm now I'm that guy. Like now I'm like, here, bro. And I'm thank God I don't have to fucking feed that thing no more. But still, like, it's like somebody else is so stoked to have that snake now. You know what I mean? And so I don't understand why it's so hard. Just like, however you got, because everyone's been hooked up in this game. I feel like I don't care who you are, like somebody did something for you where you should pass it down to the next person. And if you kind of just have that mentality of like how can I help someone else out? And not everybody, like, God damn it, we're not a fucking just a wealth or a fountain of just like handouts. But I'm sure, I don't know if you believe in God, but I believe that God puts certain people in your life, certain situations where it should dawn on you, like, I want to help this person. You know what I mean? And I got to tell you, I met so many people in this game, Corey, who helped me that nobody's ever helped me the way they've helped me. So I don't see why it's so hard. I don't.
Yeah, no, and that's why, I mean, again, I keep to myself, and, you know, anybody's welcome. I answer every phone call, I answer every email. And, you know, if people have questions, I'm more than happy to help them. But yeah, not everybody's like that.
Dude, puzzle, chocolate.
Yeah.
I love chocolate. I don't have puzzle, but I love puzzle. You got both going on right now, okay?
Yeah.
Where are we headed at with puzzle in general, with what it's doing in your projects? I mean, is puzzle into any other recessive? Is that into Orange Ghost yet? What's going on with puzzle? I got to ask you.
Yeah, so I've again, I started with a super pastel puzzle. Obviously, it came from Sean Bradley back in 2012.
Wow.
And yeah, there was actually a story behind that puzzle. So I saw that puzzle in the Chicago show, and it was on his table. It was only a couple weeks old. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of interested. He's like, oh, it's got to eat a few more times, and you know, I just brought it out here to display it. So, you know, a couple weeks goes by, and I phone him up, and I said, you know, what's going on with the, you know, you had a super pastel puzzle. What's going on with that? He's like, oh, that's sold to a guy in England. I said, has he paid you yet? And he says, no, he hasn't paid me yet. I'm like, I'll pay you today. I will put that money in your account. He's like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, do you like money? I will send you money today. not tomorrow, not next week, today. And he's like, then it's yours. And I went to the bank and I sent him money that day. And then a couple of weeks later, the guy from England was all pissed off. He's like, you know, you sold my snake. And it's like, well, you never paid for it. It wasn't your snake. But so anyway, I've been working with puzzles since 2012. But because I started with a super pastel puzzle, you know, of course, all of his offspring were pastel. And, you know, at one point they thought maybe puzzle was linked to the pastel gene because they had never produced their own standalone puzzle. You know, now we know that's, you know, you can produce just a regular puzzle, and they're actually more desirable because they were, you know, basically linked to the pastel gene for a number of years. So if I produce regular puzzles or like non-pastel, non-super pastel puzzles, you know, that's what's pretty much desired right now. Because again, it's like, you know, it was thought at one time it might actually be hooked to the puzzle or the pastel gene, because just everyone that was produced was either pastel or super pastel. So, you know, I produced super chocolate.
Corey, what year was this? One more time. I'm so sorry. What year was this?
2012.
2012. Okay.
Yeah.
So pastels were hot as shit still. Like pastels were like.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, you know, I produced, you know.
Wait. What did you pay for it? What did you pay for it?
I believe it was $7,500.
Okay, that's not bad.
at the time.
All right.
But I could be wrong. It's like I'm getting old. My memory's not as good as it used to be.
Oh yeah, right. Come on, buddy. It works. You literally have like proof of shit you imported from the 90s. I guarantee they're just
Yeah.
You probably do got a lot on your mind though. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So wow, oh, man, this is like overwhelming because you're part of so many morphs that you knew were going to be something then, but now they're like puzzle is like, if you got puzzle going into almost any recessive besides albino, you're in a really good place. You know what I mean? Because puzzle is like that DG right now, or it's just that gene. You know what I mean? And mind you, your fellow countryman, Will Moros from Royal Canadian Reptiles. I went to his place. How far are you from Ontario? Like where are you at? How far are you from there?
Yeah, so I'm in Southern Ontario, and he's more east he's more east of me. I think he's up near Peterborough, so he's maybe 3-4 hours away from me.
Corey, listen, I'm going to Canada. I can't tell you exactly. I think it's September, or NARBE or CRB. What is it?
The CRBE.
Bro, I can't keep up with these damn shows. But listen, I would love, like I said, I had a huge round table with some of my favorite Canadian breeders. And I would love to have you be a part of that when I go there next time, if that's cool. I mean, I can make it happen where Will can come with me to your place or whatever. We can figure it out or do it at the show. Do you go to the shows? Like, do you go to the CRB show, or what's your?
I do. I get stressed out going to shows. So, there's if I don't know what it is, I get anxiety before a reptile show, and I don't sleep the night before. I get all jittery, and I don't know why. And again, people that know me, they're like, you can knock on a stranger's door and say vote for me, but you can't go to a reptile show. What's wrong with you?
Are we talking vending or just showing up, or both?
Both. But I can go years without vending, and then I think people almost, it's like, is that guy still alive? I haven't seen him. What's he doing again? And so people will end up trying, they'll convince me to come out and vend at a show and all that stuff. But again, it's like, why do I have anxiety before a reptile show? If I've been in the industry for a number of years, not everybody, most people like me, not everybody. You're never going to have everybody like you, but it's.
Let me ask you this: do you have anxiety before this show started, or do you have it now? Because I mean, we have just shy of 100 people in here, and you're killing it. And so you have this many eyes on you, and you're doing just fine. So
I have no anxiety coming to do this show.
Cool.
I have no anxiety. A room full of 400 residents asking me questions about an election or a public meeting. No anxiety at all.
Obviously, right?
So what is it about a reptile show that gives me anxiety, that I can't sleep, and I get all shaky, and it's
mites. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's like what is wrong with me that I get anxiety only before a reptile show? And I shouldn't have anxiety for a reptile show. I can walk around a reptile show fine. A lot of people know me. They come up and talk to me. They only have nice things to say. Why do I have anxiety before a reptile show? And I don't know why. I don't know what that answer is.
Well, I mean, obviously you're a man, and at an age where I'm at that point in my life where I do things that make me happy. Like if it makes me feel good, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like I love going to the shows, but there's a point in time where I feel like, and this is why anytime I go and travel to a show, I make sure I'm right next to the hotel, or like the hotel's connected. Like it's the closest hotel, because I need to like leave. Like there's only a certain point in time where I can handle being in that environment. And then I have to go back to my room and just kind of, or go eat or do something. You know what I mean? Like, cause I do get a sense of anxiety. I used to get it a lot. Like when I used to first go to shows and I had no one, I was really kind of like when I had no plan to do a podcast. Like now I'm there, I have a schedule. When I go to a show, I'm on a schedule, and I think that helps, right? But when you have time to kill and it's only 11 a.m. and you've been in the show for 2 hours already, and you're like, what do you like? You know, I don't know. Like it's just weird. I guess it's weird. And I don't know. But like I said, I always have so many things I could do other than being inside the show if I don't want to be in the show. But
well,
man.
and even if I'm vending at a show, you know, it's like if the first criticism of me is you don't do shows, when I decide to do a show, the second criticism is you're never behind your table, because again, it's like, you know, I want to walk around. I want to look at everybody else's stuff. If you've actually dragged me out of my house and forced me to go to a show and vent, I want to look at everybody else's cool stuff. So, you know, half the time I'm not behind my table. So that's like, you come to these freaking shows and you're never around. Like, where are you? And it's like, I'm looking at all the other cool stuff that's here.
I want to say shout out to, so I've been in my very first show at the Reptile Super Show. Shout out to the sponsor, Rami. Cannot wait for Anaheim happening in July. But anyways, I've been in my first show. I did have quite a bit going on in my life at that time, so I had stuff pulling me away. But even when I was able to be behind the table, like, I'm so used to being out there and just seeing what's there. But I'm like, hold on, I have shit to sell. Like, and I'm a salesman. Like, I'm a born salesman. So if I have something to sell, I want to sell it. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It was just, man.
Well, see, I'm not a salesman. So, you know, if I go to a show, it's like, here's my stuff, buy it or not, I don't care, whatever. And so I'm not that salesman. And so, you know, because, you know, you go, you know, there's a lot of other people that are way better at selling snakes than I am.
But listen, you know what it takes to be a good salesperson in the reptile industry is just not sitting down behind your table with your head down looking at your phone. Just stand up, just be there, because you might have a person who wants to ask you, can I look at this snake, but they don't want to bother you. But if you're there and you're like, hey, what's going on? You know, or like, and I know that could only go so far, but still, like, you build relationships, you know what I mean? And honestly, you know, I can only imagine, Corey, a table like yours, the snakes sell itself, you know, but who are the people going to talk to if they look up and there's nobody around? Like, they need to have somebody there to.
Well, and usually I have 3. If I'm going to go to a show, I usually have at least 3 booths. You know, I have people helping me there, but it's not, you know, if I'm not behind the table, it's not me. You know, I can have my brother there, or I could, you know, I've got a great employee that works for me. You know, he helps me at shows as well. You know, he could be behind the table, but it's not me. And, you know, if the name Corey Woods is on the table, they want to see Corey Woods. And, you know,
hey, I'm not gonna lie, I would be pissed, bro. I would be like, where the fuck is Corey, man? Like, we're supposed to do a podcast. I'm just kidding. No, I don't know, man. I hear you. Listen, there's some things in life that I don't want to say are meant to be explained, but fuck it. Do what Corey Woods wants to do. Corey, you know how much I respect the fact that you're a farmer. Like, you wake up, you got sick ass, unique looking roosters, chickens, you got geese, you got turkeys, you got, man, let's take a look. Probably one of the most iconic videos I've seen, because I used to be about that life, Corey, because I had the opportunity. And what I mean by that, I had alpacas, I had chickens, and I'm not as much, and it's sad because, dude, I was a 4 a.m. guy, just because I would hear one rooster calling them up. And that's when I knew, like, let them out. They want to be let out. And so I would wake up in the morning, let out, and here come the alpacas. So I'm going to hand feed them. Next thing you know, my day's already started and it's 5 a.m. And I'm just like, let's go. You know what I mean? But I don't have that lifestyle no more. I mean, not that I won't ever, but it's not it. So when I saw this video, check this video out, guys. This is so epic. Check this out. This is so cool. This was what I was doing, but 10 times less cool. Like, I had like just chickens. Look at this. Look how cool this is. Oh my gosh. And they all those species of birds or whatever get along just fine, or what?
Yeah, and you know, they go in at night. You know, obviously, you know, I don't want them to get taken by, you know, any of the predators that are around, you know, foxes, raccoons, you know, to some extent possums. You know, we're coming into baby raccoon season. You know, they're going to be out there, they're going to be hungry. So, you know, they all go in at night in the coop there. and then, you know, let them out during the day. You know, I let them out the front door there, but they do have a side door, and, you know, we've got a pond in the back. And
wow. Oh, look at that. That is so neat.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, bro. Oh, this is so epic. So about what time of the day, like sun is still up, or it's still going, it's barely going down when you corral them into their into the, you know, the shed or whatnot?
Yeah, so usually, you know, most predators come out at night. So, you know, basically the, you know, sun goes down, we go up there and make sure they're all in and everything's closed up. And then, you know, in the morning, you know, the sunlight comes up, and then we, you know, we let them out. There's a door out the side we've got an automatic door on the coop, but I did that just for the video. And I don't put a lot of pictures of my stuff, you know, of me out there. You know, I don't do a lot of videos. You know, it's mostly I post snake pictures. So
this made,
you know,
Corey, this legit made my day, bro. When I saw this, I don't know how many views you have, but I want to tell you at least 11,000 came from me. Like, that's how, like, I watched this over and over. Because, bro, like, look at your face. You're having the time of your life, even though it's work. I know it's work. Like, bro, like, you know what you're doing for all those animals. And it's like, man, it's like, look at that. That's just so gorgeous, man. But let me ask you, because people would always grill me, like, especially my own family members. Like, the first thing when, like, they would come over and see what I had, and they'd be like, well, why do you have that? And I used to always be like, well, I guess I need a good explanation on why I have alpacas. Even though the alpacas were basically handed down to me from my neighbor directly behind me, I was like, well, I get their wool and we create beanies and blankets every year out of it. So that's one check, shut them up. But then the chickens, right? We eat a lot of eggs here, but then also like monitors, and I have stuff that just enjoy chicks as far as produce goes. So I had stuff I felt like that was judged, like that was, it justified why I kept it, especially to my wife. Because my wife, like, she'd be like, hey, like, she'd wake me up, like, do you hear that? Like, go fucking, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Like, I'd go out of bed, right? But I would always tell her why we needed to do it. Why do you keep geese? Like, what's the purpose of geese? I'm curious.
Well, for one, I like interesting things, and I like different things. So, you know, and you find, much like, you know, in the reptile industry, you know, with the birds, it's like, went out and got chickens first, you know,
right?
Moved out to the country, you know, and it's like, okay, we're getting chickens. And then you're like, oh, you know, we got chickens, we got, you know, we got some water in the back there. Let's get some ducks. And then you get ducks. And you have them for a while. You got chickens and ducks. And then you're like, you know, turkeys are kind of cool. You know, maybe we could have a turkey running around. So you go and get a turkey. And then, okay, that works out. Now you got chickens, ducks, and turkeys. And then you're like, well, if we got all those three, why don't we go out and get some geese?
That's what I'm saying. I'm the same way. Like, why not? Like, because if it was up to me when I had all these farm animals, I had an acre of backyard of just lot. Like, it was, and there was hills, and like it was perfect. Like, my alpacas were like living the time of their life. And so I wanted to get emus. I was like, dude, what's wrong with 2 emus? Like, I mean, like, I've seen that they get a lot, you know, I'll give them their own thing. And luckily my wife shut it down, because shortly after that, my landlord was like, hey, I'm building a house back there. So that would have not gone good. But I know what you mean. Like, you just keep it because it's interesting to you, and probably makes you feel young. Am I right?
Well, yeah. And of course, I always want to do weird stuff. So when it's like, you know, when we decided, okay, we're going to have geese, you know, the type of geese we have are Sebastopol geese. They're not the regular geese. I don't do anything regular. So, you know, it's like, okay, go out and find this very specific goose that I want. And, you know, it's the same with the turkeys. They're not just any type of turkey. They're a red bourbon turkey, which, you know, again, are kind of rare. You know, you got to kind of look for them to find them. So, and actually, I think Peter Williams has been on this show before.
Yeah, he sure has. Shout out to Peter.
So he's actually got some red bourbon turkeys from me, you know. So he's got chickens as well, but he also has turkeys. So if you have him on again, ask him about his poultry as well.
Man, he has quite the layout. You know, oh man, because I found out about Peter, and then I had just recently started following him because the way, you know, I met him. I'm like, you know, this is when I had a Saturday episode where it was called coffee and dab session, or no, international. It was called International Coffee and Dab Session, and I used to just bring international guests on. Basically, I would only bring Canadians on because those were the most like tapped in people. So Peter Williams, I found about him, and I really needed a guest, so I booked Peter, and I started, as we're talking, I'm scrolling through his Instagram, and I saw his farm layout, and I'm like, holy shit, this is what I'm talking about. And listen, when I went to go visit Will Morrow's in Canada, I saw a part of Canada that just made me just melt. I was like, this is gorgeous. It was green. Obviously, it's not that right now, but it was like just the countryside was like, I felt like I was in a movie. Like I remember the first day I was there, I'm vlogging, getting much as I can. And like, I literally, go over, and then his dad has a bee colony. Like he has a bunch of bees making honey, and they're all a bunch of different species. I'm learning about bees. And I'm like, imagine just doing this. And it's like, man, it's just quite the life, But I also know that like, it's all work too. Like these are guys who just work nonstop because they're passionate about it. But I would like I said, my wife would always tell me, do you know how much work an emu is going to be, and a alpaca? I do. And I'm down. Like, please, like, it's funny. I don't know if you know this, Corey, but I'm about to have my first child in July.
Yeah. I did see that on your Instagram there. So congratulations to that.
Thank you so much. But people keep preparing me about the work ahead of me. Bring it on. You want me to change a shitty diaper? Bring it. These fingernails have seen monitor shits on a daily. Like, I don't care that. I'd rather be shitted on by my own child than a monitor at this point. Dude, bring it on. So I don't know, because I just feel like my whole life I haven't had work ethic because I haven't really been passionate about what I was doing. Baseball, I loved baseball. But there were just like, the workouts and shit like that. Like, I don't know why at that time I just couldn't get that down. Now I understand it. But Reptiles has put a maturity in me that I would have never thought I could discover, because how much I always just wanted to do like the selfish fucking shortcut route. You can't shortcut nothing by animals, period. Like, and if you do, watch the longevity of that animal. It doesn't look good. Like, anybody who's an animal neglector, I don't know how they keep animals and watch the same shit go through every animal, and just like, it's depressing. It's not everybody, but there is a lot of people out there who just shouldn't have animals, Corey.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Is that a big problem being the position you are right now? How much animal neglect are you seeing within your own like county limits and stuff like that? I'm curious.
Well, like, we don't see a lot, in our area. Obviously it happens, and it really doesn't matter where you are, whether you're Canada, US, city, country, there are going to be people that are neglecting animals. We don't see a lot of it, here. I don't even think there's, it's going to be around, but, even, province wide, and even, I don't even see it, Canada wide. So I'm sure it's happening, but it's not, you don't see news articles every day or every week about animal neglect or anything like that. So, if it is going on, I think it's few and far between. And, a lot of people keep reptiles. But they're indoor pets. You can see a neglected horse in the field.
Oh my God!
But if you got indoor pets, they're not out there. They're not being seen by passerbys. But you don't hear of a lot of people getting raided and charges and stuff. And I would hope that if somebody decided they can't properly care for the animal, maybe it's time for them to let go and get rid of the animal, or cut down the number of animals they have.
So I have a weird obsession. My wife thinks it's funny. I mean, it's not like, I'm sure guys have a way more weird fucking thing that they look at night compared to this, but this right here gives me the most satisfaction in the world. And I'm going to share this right now. This is like hoof trimming. Have you ever seen this, Corey? This is
I do watch the videos as well, and we don't have any animals with hooves, although my wife loves pigs. She's always wanted to have a pig, and I keep telling her, I'm like, you can have an outdoor pig. We can call him Bacon. I don't want indoor pig. I want outdoor pig. But yeah, we don't have anything with a hoof.
Nate the hoof guy. Okay. If you're one of these, okay. Oh my God, I'm gonna talk a lot about my own. I don't want to call it insecurities, but my wife makes fun of me. Like, so one of the things I do if I get a scar, I'm a scab peeler. Like, I will peel the shit out of my scab. Like, I don't, especially if I know it's gonna leave me a scar, right? And I know that's a big. I know it's a big no. Just because I just want to see the next generation of healing, right? So this right here is like it's like, oh my God, because first and foremost, these beautiful cows that are huge as fuck, they're limping and they're all fucked up. Basically, what we're looking at right now is like their nail being trimmed, because a hoof is basically, it's like the same stuff that makes a fingernail, right? But like we're talking like abscesses, right? So they get down to the point where they find the source of the problem, and it's just like, here, like, watch, let's speed this up. Like, you want to really, I mean, I'm sorry, it could get really gross. See how it's like it's starting to open up, and then like blood will start to see the meat right there. Do you see that, Corey, a little bit? I know it's probably hard for you to see.
Yeah, and I've seen those videos before, and I mean they're fascinating. But then, yeah, some of them, if there's like an abscess in there or whatever, it's like, okay, gross. This needs to be fixed, but it's gross.
Yeah, dude. It's kind of like, here's the thing. I hate watching it on humans. Like, you know, those fucking pimple popper shows and like those, I'll run out the room. But like on a cow, like I feel like, dude, this cow is getting so much like help right now. And maybe that's why I like to see it. But yeah, I have, I don't know, man. I miss that farm life. That's all I got to say. I think that's all I'm trying to get at this point, where I just, I miss it.
We don't have the, we don't have the property to have everything that we would want to have. But, I see these Highland cows, these big woolly cows with the big set of horns. It's like, I'd love to have a Highland cow, but yeah, that's when we moved to the bigger farm.
So, Corey, I have to ask you, we were talking a lot about the success you've had with import shippings and the throughout the years, the customers you were able to establish and kind of hold down. What about the pet keeper side of things? Like, how much of your snakes are going, from what you can tell, are going directly to pet keepers, not breeders?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's, a little bit hard to tell, just because, if half of my business is wholesale, the other half is retail.
Right.
And, I put stuff up on MORPH Market, but I don't have everything on MORPH Market. And, if I'm located in Canada, shipping can be, quite expensive going to other countries. So, people typically want to, have a larger order if it's going to be, shipped. Even shipping to the US can get expensive.
Yeah.
So, it's really hard to tell what the mix is between, because I do some wholesale, I usually assume, the higher end stuff, if it's wholesale, is going to go, direct to the breeder, but the lower end stuff is probably just going to the pet keepers that just want a cool looking snake to have.
The reason why I ask is because, I had somebody from Canada on the show recently. Her name is Kayla. She goes by Jube the Snake. And I'm not gonna, I don't want to say I always downplayed pet keepers, but I always felt like, why do I even need to care for people who are just pet people, because I'm a breeder, right? But I can't tell you how many times I have a snake that I wish could go to somebody who would just want to love it as a pet. So I do see that the pet keeping side of this industry is very, very important, because I mean, there's not every day you run into people who want to put a ball python in a 4x2, but if you have somebody who strategically wants to do the best they could possibly do by what they feel like is by this ball python, then fucking go for it. Like, who am I? Like, what? Like go for it. You know what I mean? Because not everything is meant to be bred in this world. And it's funny, because when you're a breeder, from what I understand, all you want to do is mess with other breeders. But I think there's a lot more to it than just that, especially after getting a few years under your belt. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and I mean, there's definitely, with being a breeder, all of my stuff is set up in RHACS and stuff. And, you know, when, you know, I can, you know, it's more prevalent in Europe, but, you know, some of these setups that people have are just, you know, the coolest setups, and they're just so fascinating, you know, on how some of these setups are. So I can definitely appreciate the pet keeper. You know, obviously there's a risk when you put a ball python in a larger, you know, cage. Is it going to eat, not eat? You know, some of them can be finicky. A lot of them aren't. So,
Right.
you know, if you're putting it in a 4 foot by 2 foot cage, and, you know, it's a beautiful setup and all these plants everywhere, I mean, some of those setups can just be mind boggling.
But like, for instance, like, do you, I guess, like it's, you know, cause listen, I got to tell you, the week I was bringing her on the show, we had this conversation before the show started, and I spent hours in this room cleaning, I don't know, close to 300 snakes, you know what I mean, the whole day. And
Yeah.
and when I finally talked to her on the phone, she was out of breath too, and she's like, yeah, I just got done cleaning snakes for like almost 4 hours. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, me too. She's like, yeah. She's like, all 10 cages are done.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, but like, it makes sense. Like, for instance, because whatever, like, there's things you need to figure out that's going to make that snake like a ball python happy in a situation like a 4x2. Okay. And that's just my honest opinion. So there's just not a lot of people like that even in the pet tuber, or not pet tuber, but in the pet keeper world, like, because people don't want to put in the work. Like this young lady actually is obsessed, and she loves the animals, where she's going to figure it out, and she's going to have her days where she puts in hours of work for 10 cages. Okay. So good for you. She figured it out, but is that the average of what people are doing? No, not at all. And so that's why, because of the average laziness in this hobby, keeping a ball python in a rack is the way to go. I'm telling you right now. Let's be real. Yeah. How many people have 14-hour plus work days, and they're just spun out? Like, they don't, like, not everyone could attend to take care of a ball python in a 4x2, especially breeders. So it's like, I don't know. It really just depends where you're at in this, but to each their own.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have a lot of, you know, respect for those people, you know, that keep those, you know, elaborate setups. You know, the ball pythons I have, they're all, you know, set up in racking systems and stuff. You know, I don't have a lot of tarantulas. They're more set up in like a naturalized, you know, setup, but
wait, tarantulas. You have tarantulas?
Yeah, I've got some not a lot. I've maybe got, you know, I usually never have more than about 10 tarantulas and a few, you know, scorpions.
All right, dude. Okay, your hair makes sense. Okay, dude, you're a fucking scorpion tarantula guy. Like, what the fuck, Corey? That's weird, bro. That's scary shit. That's scary shit, dog.
So the reason I have tarantulas, you know, growing up, you know, I don't want to say I had a fear of snakes growing up, but I guess I had an awareness of snakes. Like, you know, I don't want to get bit as a child and stuff, but if I had a mild fear of snakes as a child, I had like a serious fear of spiders. So when I started keeping snakes, you know, the regular person on the street would be like, well, like, you're not afraid of snakes, but you're afraid of spiders. That doesn't make sense to us, you know?
That's definitely me.
So, one of the first years I went out to the Red Deer, Alberta show, a guy by the name of Walter was putting the show on. And one of the things he did in Alberta when he wasn't running the Red Deer Alberta show is, you know, he'd take some animals, you know, he did the education piece. He'd take some animals, you know, to schools. And so he was selling a couple of his tarantulas. He's like, oh, I want to pare it down. He's like, it was a golden knee tarantula, but he was like, I literally take this to kindergarten classes and have the children hold this tarantula. So he's like, if you're afraid of spiders, this is the spider for you. And, you know, so I got that golden knee tarantula. To be honest, I didn't mess with it for probably the first year that I kept it. I'm like, I don't know anything about tarantulas. I'm gonna put crickets in the cage, and I'm just, that's all I'm gonna do. And then I got up to holding it and all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't keep any of the crazy, tarantulas or anything like that.
Any tarantula's crazy, bro. You're nuts. It doesn't matter if it has those 8 legs and how many eyes does it have or not? What is it? I forget. What is it again? I forget. 20 eyes.
It's quite a few.
Dude,
but yeah, so that was one of the things that's like, okay, if I got over, and I would never say that I was afraid of snakes, but it's like, okay, I'm comfortable around snakes, but I was, afraid of spiders. I got to work on that.
That makes sense.
But
Okay, respect, bro. That right there shows a lot of maturity. But is one of your childs really into spiders? Is your daughter? You said, right?
Yeah. So like we've got 2 sons, and they have an appreciation for all animals. So I mean, they go out they like seeing the birds in the yard, but they'll come down. They'll help me with the snakes and stuff like that. They'll help me feeding the snakes. They've got a short attention span because they're only 6 and 9. So
I think the whole there's small dog people and there's big dog people. There's cat people. There's fish people. There's so many people of people, right? But what we're talking about right here specifically just makes me realize what I'm saying so true, because I've had encounters as a child with snakes, not only via movie, but in person. And I've always been connected with the snake. I can't tell you, snakes never made me run the other way. Like I'm glued, right? A spider, for instance, okay, as a child, I remember a good summer night running with the boys and going through bushes. I remember going through webs and a spider would hit my face and I would feel it crawling, right? Terrified. I would be like, what? And then I would see what it was. And it like, oh my God, even though it's tiny and I could kill it, it like terrified me. The movie, Arachnophobia. Do you ever watch that movie? With Jeff Daniels?
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. Are you kidding me? So, dude, it was drawn in the sand what spiders meant to me as a young child. Even scorpions. You ever see the movie Hook? The Peter Pan thing? The Hook?
Yeah.
Remember when they toss that guy in the fucking chest and they throw scorpions in there and the scorpions, that right there, done with scorpions. So I get why like past child experiences traumatize people, and I think keeping a spider would be good for me.
Yeah, and I mean, again with the scorpions, I've got a couple emperor scorpions. They're the entry level scorpion. It's
are they black?
Yeah, they're the black. Yeah.
Okay.
And but I think I had the same experience. I used to joke with people to say like, I was born pushing a lawnmower. And, then when I got to, be a little bit older, it's like, okay, you've graduated from push lawnmower to, okay, now get on the lawn tractor and cut the grass. So I think that's where my fear of spiders came. It's like you're under the trees, you're around the yard, spiders are dropping on you. And I think that's where I got afraid of spiders.
Yeah, man. Dude, I'm good. I don't know. But listen, who's a spider guy is my dad. Like my dad is like, he has one of those bird eaters, one of those blue diamondback things. Like,
yeah.
It's as big as my face. And whenever I come over to his house, it happens to be out. And he's like, look. And he wants to take it out. And I'm like, dude, you take that fucking thing out. And it's like, and it's crazy because I have people who are like that with snakes that I bring around. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, you there?
Yeah. You just froze there. Am I back?
You're good. We're back. Was it me?
Okay.
Sorry. Anyways, so but listen, I kind of need to just start taking a little bit of my own medicine because I can't tell you how many times my wife's invited family and friends over and they're like, what? You have snakes in there? No. And I'm like, dude, no, listen, give me 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes. Watch what happens. And I think I need to give the tarantulas 5 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it in my kids' room though. I'm not gonna keep it in my room. Okay, listen. Oh, man. Oh my God. An hour and 40 minutes. We're killing it. Okay. I got to ask you this. Lately there's been crazy talk within the United States. I'm not too sure in Canada or in other countries. but because of COVID being done and the money not being that, there's a lot of people panicking about a quote unquote recession. Have you felt any sort of recession being in Canada and having your stuff locked in for how many years now? Like, are you feeling that at all? Let's kind of talk about the quote unquote recession happening within the ball python community.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I maybe have a different perspective than other people, just because I've been breeding ball pythons for however long, 25 years. And if I've been through a number of recessions. There was the housing bubble back in 2008. I think there was a recession in 2003, but there was the housing bubble that popped in 2008 and went to about 2010, and I think there was a little dip again in 2018. I've been through some recessions, and sales go up and down, and
facts.
I'm still selling stuff, but I find, if I'm self-employed, running a business, whether, sales are up or down, I always feel like I'm hustling. And, again, I've formed good relationships with people over the years, and I think I'm just fortunate that I produce stuff that other people want to buy, and it always sells. Sales within Canada have slowed a little bit for me in the last few months. Overseas sales have been consistent, but I've been through a number of recessions, and it doesn't matter, recession, not recession, people still keep buying animals. But obviously people talk about a recession, there's an unknown, you don't know what's going to happen. And so it's like, I think everybody around, including myself, it's like, oh, okay, maybe we got to be cautious here and see where it goes. But again, I've weathered a number of recessions, and historically people, continue to be interested in animals, continue to buy animals. And, again, I'm still selling stuff.
I mean, it's kind of just the way life goes, right? Like you're going to have your peaks and you're going to have your downs, and you're going to have your mids, whatever. Like, there's some people who, and here's the thing, like, I feel like no one really in the ball python game is ever really at a low. You're just not at a position that you're used to. And that's because you came in during a time where, I mean, come on, COVID sales were not realistic to any of you ball python breeders. I mean, everyone fucking sold off the shelves. Like, are you kidding me? And but like, like I said, I kind of knew that, okay, what was happening, because my first year selling a snake was 2020, and first, with all that and going into 2021. But I knew, like, I was like, okay, this is because the government's handing out money like it's fucking nothing, and people just have money to shit on. But even now, I'm still selling snakes. Like, I have no problem selling a snake. It's just not being sold recklessly no more, which is probably a good thing. Like I don't know. I'm not worried at all. Like, because if you're doing good by the snake, quality sells itself. We were just talking about that earlier. If it's a good looking snake, regardless of who wants it, and you're pricing it right, it's going to sell itself. So
yeah. Well, and again, like, if I produce, I think last year I produced 238 clutches, but don't quote me on that number. I produce like 1,500 snakes a year. So, no matter what year it is, I always feel like it's like, okay, I'm always hustling. It seems like, where it's like, okay, I got 1,500 snakes, and I'm always selling stuff. But it's like, yeah, when you're an independent business owner, you always feel it's like, I'm responsible for this. This is my baby. And, whether you are running a trucking company or, keeping reptiles or whatever, if you're the company owner, you're like, okay, everything falls on me, and so, if sales are down a little bit because people are worried of a recession, you still got to hustle. You just got to hustle a little bit more. But, not everybody is comfortable with that. And that's kind of the business side of keeping reptiles. And I experience it I think a little different than a lot of people because I produce so many animals.
One of my most favorite people I've ever came across to and met in this game that I'm in currently, Mark Bailey. You know who Mark Bailey is?
Yep.
And that guy, man, have you met Mark? Have you got to hang out? Like, do you know Mark, or you just know of him? Like, how well do you know Mark?
Yeah, so like, I started going to the Daytona shows, I think in around 2000 or 99, whenever it was. And, I went to the Daytona show for, I think 10 years in a row. And then I started going to the Chicago show and, there's two Baileys. There's Mark Bailey and Tim Bailey. And I like them both.
Both are legendary. I love them both.
Yeah.
I just know Mark.
And I love talking with both of them. I know Tim Bailey a little bit better than I know Mark Bailey, but I've talked to Mark Bailey a number of times.
Tim's a legend, man. Tim is a legend on its own scale of what I'm talking about. But Mark, first and foremost, one of my most, I mean, all my sponsors I'm so thankful for, but to have Mark Bailey to be one of my sponsors means just so many things to me because I've heard stories of Mark Bailey through my best friend's Forrest Fanning before he passed away. And I know that the reason why Cold Blooded Cafe was only able to get established was because of Mark Bailey. And so that made me very interested into Mark Bailey. And so speed couple years past that, after finding out who Mark Bailey was, next you know, Mark Bailey's flying over to California. He's at my event that I throw for my Patreon members called Trap Fest. We're talking, we're hanging out, and we became we became best friends. Like the stuff he was telling me made me feel not only good, but just made sense. Like it made me want to grind more, made me want to work. And his biggest thing that he says, I've had him on this show more than twice, and he always wishes that people in life can find their passion, because when you find something you're passionate about, nothing stops you. Like and Corey, I feel you took things serious enough to go to fucking council. Like you went to your goddamn local county office and became a goddamn deputy mayor. Okay. Are you kidding me? Because you're like, hold on, I got to do something about this. So sky's the limit of your capabilities when you're passionate about something. And man, not everyone gets to experience that in life. And if animals don't make you do this, I mean, maybe you should just keep them versus breeding them. Because there's two, here's the thing. Just because you're a bad breeder doesn't make you a bad keeper. I feel like that's two different things. Because when you're breeding, some people try to get so ahead of themselves that they can't even maintain their own collection. And they're just they're neglecting, not even knowing that they're neglecting. But maybe if they just kept things on the don't look at it as making money. Get that out of your fucking skull. It might change things a bit. Am I right?
Well, and we talked about this, in the last podcast a couple of years ago, where, we all have things that we're good at and we all have things that we're not good at, we had a more in-depth conversation about that the last time around, but for the people that didn't see the previous podcast, it's okay, it's been proven a number of times that I can, I give ball pythons the opportunity to breed, and I've been very lucky in being able to allow them to breed, and they do quite well for me. But, green tree pythons were like my nemesis. I can get them as a baby. I can get them to eat. I can get them to breed. I can get the females to lay eggs. I can get the eggs to hatch. I can't get the baby green trees to live.
You want to feel better? I bet you. You want to feel good about yourself right now? You want to feel good about yourself? Are you ready?
Yeah.
So Corey, when we first spoke, I think I had a ball python clutch under my belt that immediately all went bad. 26 eggs went bad. Okay.
Yeah.
But I've had a couple more since then. Okay, buddy. You want to hear what happened in my last one, Corey? Okay. The exact same thing and reason why you're seeing what you're saying, because I fucking had 11 beautiful breathing baby chondros pipping out the egg. 11.
Yeah.
By the time any of them came out, I had 3.
Yeah.
The rest, whatever happened, they fucking died. Now, the 3 I had, which mind you, I was like, I have 3. And dude, guess what? They all ate. Oh, did they eat? They ate, Corey. So I really thought I was in the clear. But guess what happened to the first one that died? It never took its first shed. So it suffocated. Literally, I remember the other two had like 2 sheds, 3 going on their shirt. I'm like, dude, this one hasn't shed yet. What is going on? I come in one day to feed it, and it's sitting there with its mouth gasping. And I'm like, dude, this thing's done. Okay. Then what happens to the second one that dies? Prolapse. After eating like a good solid 11 meals, solid shits, everything. I'm thinking we're good here, Corey. Prolapsed, didn't recover, dead. Okay. And then guess what? The monster. I called this one she was the granddaddy. She was like, I'm like, okay, this one, okay, I understand. The other ones didn't make it. There's nothing happening. She had a meaty fucking head. Everything was perfect. And then on month 7, prolapse. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't believe it, Corey. I couldn't believe it.
Well, and that's it. Like if I bred a number of pythons, probably 6 or 7 different species of python, it's like, okay, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert, but I have some experience. It's like if I can not only get the eggs, but I can hatch the eggs. I can get the babies eating. Why can't I get them to live? Like there's obviously, and I didn't just stop at 1 clutch. I think it took me about 5 years and maybe about 10 clutches of green trees to just be like, I don't think green trees and me get along. There's something that I'm missing. If there's 10 things you got to do to keep them properly, I'm missing out on one of those things, and I just could not figure out. So I just decided I'm just not good with green trees. But everybody has that. Like, I'm not good with tortoises, but I think I'm really good with aquatic turtles. And so we all have things that we're good at, and we all have things that we're not good at. And
I agree with you, bro. But that's for us to figure out. And as much as
we have to figure it out.
But I definitely feel, because what year was this when you were going through this with the chondros?
I want to say I think I kept chondros from about 99 to maybe like 2007, 2008.
Hey, listen, Corey, it's time to jump back on that pony, buddy. I think we're in a different time. I think you have so much resources at this point, me one of them, that
You still there?
Am I here?
Yeah, you're back.
Sorry. Anyways, Corey Woods needs to be in the chondro game. What do I need to do? Please, because you do enjoy them. You like chondros. You do.
Well, and I kept a number of different boas. It was mostly Central American boas, but I also bred the Brazilian rainbow boas. And okay, Amazon basin emeralds are not a green tree. I understand that. If I were to get an arboreal animal, I think I'd go with the Amazon basin emeralds before I went back to green trees.
Ooh, dude. Obviously, Corey is showing his snobbiness, and I love it. Bro, listen. My foundation in the arboreal game is green trees, and I'm proud to say that. Nothing wrong with green trees. Are you kidding me? They are a designer arboreal, but and I it's funny. I say this to so many people who think green trees are superior. Like they really think green trees are superior until they've seen a basin in person. And when you've seen an adult basin, Amazon tree boa, there's nothing more prehistoric as a snake that lives in a tree more than a basin. And you're right. It takes the cake. And I love that you have that taste in your mouth, man. That's good.
Yeah.
I love it, Corey. So, okay, let me know how I can get you a basin, because I know people too.
Yeah, and I just, I've bred a number of different species, and I'm now to a point where I can appreciate, a lot of these nice animals at other people's places. So, yes, I have an interest in different chameleons. I'm probably never going to keep chameleons. I have an interest in Amazon basin emeralds. Realistically, I'm probably never going to keep them. but I can definitely appreciate it when other people keep them, and I enjoy seeing them at other people's places.
And it's funny because I've had people on like Summer, Summer, who's she's a helper over at Canova, not a helper, but she actually works with Justin with the social media, and she's actually taken another part with Justin, but she's like somebody who doesn't keep any ball pythons, but she admires what she works around, right? And I can understand people who like, I don't know. I feel like where I'm at, whatever I'm into, I keep. Like nobody has what I have, but there is other people in my area. But I don't know. I can respect that. Check this out. I have a wrap up question before we get into our round 2 Corey Wood edition hot seat questions. Okay. Now this question is really relating to who is in your eyes in this country that I'm in, America, right? That you feel like is like the most enjoyable person to do business with. Like, who is it that you could really talk about breeder wise out of the United States that you will always enjoy doing business with? Anybody out there that sticks out in your mind?
Well, I mean, I've been around for a while. I've dealt with some good people and dealt with some not really.
The best, Corey. I'm talking about the best, buddy. I want like who's number 1 in Corey's head, or maybe a number 2 or 3. I don't care. But like, I'm talking about like, I know there's a bunch, but who's the best in Corey's head? I want to know.
Well, so the one person, well, there's a number of people, but I'll give you one example. So, I'm not old, but I'm old. And, I've been around for a while. I loved hanging out with Ralph Davis. I consider him a friend. I like, obviously when you're younger, you're all full of piss and vinegar. And then when you get older, you kind of mellow out, and we're all like that. When you're 20 years old, you just want to argue and fight. When you're 40 years old, it's like, I just want everything to be easy. So, I think I still have a good relationship with Ralph Davis now. He's very low key. He was very, out there and boisterous when he was younger, much as we all were, but I love dealing with Ralph Davis. I have a lot of my founding animals came from him, and I've dealt with a lot of great people over the number of years, and there's a lot of great people in the industry. But I think, Ralph Davis, I mean, for me, he was one of the people that I looked up to. And I know he still keeps ball pythons. You can probably phone him up today in Maryland and he'll sell you a ball python. But he's not out there. Again, he's calmed down and stuff. But I like,
he's a builder.
Yeah, I liked Ralph Davis as a friend, and I liked getting animals from him. Right. I never, they all did great. They were all beautiful animals, and not a lot of people work with Super Phantom. Super Phantom came from Ralph Davis. Right. I got my first G-Stripe from Ralph Davis. I got my first Lesser Platinum from Ralph. So, we did a lot of business, but, he's just a great, nice person. And, I've dealt with a lot of great people, but, he was, I think one of my mentors, and, he's very low key now. So, if people complain about me being low key and not going out and doing stuff, it's like, now I'm going to complain about Ralph because he doesn't go out and do stuff, and he's just kind of low key. So
I think
I can totally understand that.
That's your inspiration, is Ralph Davis. Like, I feel like you're okay with being that.
Yeah.
I mean, because at the end of the day, Ralph went out keeping the people thirsty. Like Ralph handed the game to certain people, real obviously, right? And because I talk about the impact, like the first people to ever keep it real, like meaning speak how they feel and just fuck anyone else, was a Ralph Davis. That was, I heard. Yeah. Ralph Davis gave you facts that nobody else would give you, and that's what he was a pioneer for, and that's what I'm drawn to the most. And mind you too, like I conversate with Ralph, but it has nothing to do with snakes. It has nothing to do with him coming on my podcast. It's all about fishing.
Yeah. No, he's big into fishing, and it's like, if he wanted to be out there 20 years ago, now he just wants to like what I want to do. It's like, I just want to hide indoors and play with the stuff that I enjoy. And, you know, he does a lot of fishing. He still has, you know, all the ball pythons and stuff, and he breeds them every year, but he's super low key now.
That kind of comes with the age of being in the reptile game for so long. Mind you, the era, right? Like Ralph Davis comes from an era of just low key people. Low key was like, that was reptile game back then. Like if you wanted information, you had to be low key tapped in with the right kind of low key people. Why the fuck do you think Corey was going to shows and going to people's tables like Sean Bradley? Because you were trying to get tapped in. Because and what's crazy is, like, did you have anxiety then when you were going to shows back then? Did you have anxiety? Probably not.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Or you
did? Yeah. It's like, okay, you know, way back when, it's like, I'm new, you know, I got to get out there. And I think when I first started going to shows, I didn't have anxiety. It's just, I don't know, it just kind of developed over the years. And it's just, yeah, specifically to reptile shows.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, man. I can't talk shit about reptile shows because not only do the biggest ones in this country sponsor me, but still, like, I get why there's people who can't do like me. I don't think I could ever be a vendor. Like I can't. Like it's just, it's too much stress, bro. My biggest regret and the biggest reason why I only lasted 1 day vending, even though I found out that if you're gonna do a weekend, you have to do both days. I packed that shit up after the first day because how cold it was. And I had no heat. Like I had like nobody, not that it's anybody's fault, but nobody told me like you need to supply heat in this building because at night there's no heat and it gets fucking cold as balls. And I was like, fuck, I'm not going to bring what I have on MORPH Market for like $2,000-$3,000 to a fucking, like, no, I'm not, I'm good. And so, yeah, that panicked me, bro. And so, but then there's other people who don't have that problem because they've already been through the ringers. And I got to say, shout to all the vendors out there. Like people who go vend shows, I salute you. Like you guys got it down. And I know that they only got it down because they went ahead and sacrificed and went through some losses. And that only is the truth when it comes to vending so much.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I haven't been to a US show in a long time, probably 10 years. As you'll experience, your life changes when you have children. So it's like, you know, you got young children at home, you're at home, you're helping out with the kids and stuff. So, you know, I haven't traveled for a number of shows, but, you know, not as many people would recognize me at a US show than, you know, they would, you know, when I was going to shows. You know, and I do get recognized at the Canadian shows. You know, people know what I look like, but I like going to, like, you know, if at some point, again, we decide to go into the Daytona show or the Chicago show again, you know, I like going to the shows where people don't know who I am and I can just walk around, enjoy the animals, talk to people, and just be like incognito.
I kind of lied to you, man. I had a wrap-up question, but something else just synced into my brain right now. And like you seem to be a very non-dramatic type of person to deal with snakes with. Like I feel like you're pretty good at just doing Corey Woods. Like Corey Woods is Corey Woods. I've never seen any kind of drama attached to that brand, just so you know. But have you ever had a dance and avoided drama in this industry? Like have you ever had drama come to you and you had to pivot and like or anything like that? Anything to help anybody out there just avoid drama, because I feel like when you come up, and you, Corey, I feel like you could really relate to me on this, but I feel like as the scales are going up in your favor in this industry, drama somehow attaches to you. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think, you know, okay, I'm going to tell you, you know, a part of why, you know, I have anxieties with shows. So,
tell me.
You know, you have different experiences, you know, at a show or outside of a show, you know, positive or negative. Right. You know, this would have been, I want to say, 2007. Or 2000, no, I want to correct that, 2006. You know, vending at a reptile show in Toronto. And I had one of the other vendors' husbands come up and grab me by the neck. And there was a bunch of drama around that show, and I kind of he caught me off guard. He went to grab for my neck, and I kind of stumbled back, and to try and avoid him, and I tripped over some boxes. But of course, I was one of the featured people at the Reptile show, so I'm up on the stage, and everybody can kind of see this go on. And the police were called, and a bunch of drama went down. And it's like, a lot of swear words came out of my mouth. And of course, looking back on that situation was kind of, a little bit embarrassing, because it's like, I'm up on a stage. So if I'm already 5 feet above everybody and somebody just like attacked me, a lot of swear words came out of my mouth. And like the whole show was staring at me with this incident. And the police are there, and it's like, wow, that's not the drama you want to go through, especially when you're kind of like all the eyes are looking at you.
But like, it's like, could you help that though? Like, could you help that? Like, okay, at least it was cuss words and not your fist. Yeah. And so what I'm saying, like, there's so much of a transition people need to realize that comes into anyone's life when you're successful. And what I mean by success is being above somebody's, like when somebody has goals and you're surpassing them and they're watching you, that creates something as a human. And even though I'm not that human, I look at that as motivation. But some people look at that as like, ooh, fuck that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what was the reason of you getting your throat grabbed? I'm confused. What was that all about?
Well, and it was just like, at the time, the one, like his wife was looking to sell some of their animals, and I was maybe interested, but we used to be friends, but then we weren't friends, and there was just a bunch of drama around that show. And it just, I think the husband was just a jealous person, and came up, and I think just more to try and scare me, to be like, either buy these snakes or don't buy these snakes, just like, leave my wife alone or whatever. And it's like what is going on here? Like, I'm totally confused. And, other drama around the shows, like, I remember I had some T-positive Central American boas that I had produced. And another I'm producing them here in Canada, but another vendor had bought some from Peter Call and imported them into Canada and was selling them at the CRBE. Well, if I was selling them for $200, this other vendor was basically threatening me to say, well, like, you're selling them for too low. He's like, I bought them from Pete Call for that price, so I have to sell mine for more money, so you have to raise your price. And so I would go back to that. I don't usually take shit from people. So I just said to him, well, if my price is too low, why don't you buy all of mine? And then you're the only guy here at the show. So why don't you buy mine and resell them? He's like, well, I just bought all the ones from Pete Call, so I can't buy all yours. It's like, well, that sounds like that's a you problem. But then it's like, you hear it's like, oh, that vendor wants to beat you up because he's, you're selling your stuff too cheap. And it's like, well, that's their opinion. But you go through a couple experiences like that, and it's like, well, like, this guy seriously he's threatening me because he bought animals from Pete Call, and I'm trying to sell mine basically for the same price that Pete Call sold his for. And it's like, why am I even involved? Like, why are you mad at me? Ultimately, maybe you shouldn't have bought something from somebody in another country. You should have supported another Canadian and bought mine. But I think you go through some of these experiences, and everybody's going to have different experiences. And sometimes you go to places. It doesn't have to be, it could be high school. It doesn't have to be a reptile show, where it's like, sometimes just, people, they look at you and you kind of get a bad vibe from them. And you're like, well, what did I do to you? Like, why do you hate me for no reason? But
that kind of experience, Corey, which I don't blame you why you are what you are with shows, But that right there, if you're a true believer in your own judgment, when you could see a fucking person that just doesn't like compute, like, and Corey, God bless you for having these powers, even though we all have these powers, but come to realization, people. If you're looking at somebody and something just doesn't add up, it doesn't add up. Fucking disconnect. And I can't tell you, right? Like, I mean, you're even saying the name Call. You know how bad the name Call is right now in this country? It's bad. It's terrible. You can't even, like, people are saying their Call stuff is VPI stuff now. It's, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, the true colors of people who are the people they are will eventually wash themselves out. Like, it's like, you know, my dad who's in the chats right now, shout out to my pops, but my dad always had this saying, like, son, whatever the fuck that you do will come out in the wash eventually. Like, it's like, it will come out. And what happens is you're going to, if there's a stain or something that's on that clothing, it's going to be shown. And so it's just a reminder, like, let people, and for instance too, in a time of age that we are in right now, Corey, people light themselves on fire. It's crazy. Like there's not much you need to do. Like, you could just sit back. I mean, you don't have to watch, but it's, I mean, how can you not? It's like, holy shit, look what this person done did to themselves. And, but yeah, man, I'm not like Corey. If it's one thing, like Corey, oh man, I'm very confrontational. Like, I'm trying to work on this, right? But I got to the point where I would get so many messages about people telling me not to go to certain shows that I made it a point to go to the show because I wanted it. Like you're gonna hurt me if I go to this show. Please hurt me. And come to realize that every show I've been at, nothing, like, it's not what it is portrayed on the internet. The internet is a really fucked up place, Corey. The internet is not real. It's not a reality. It's something that is really living in as much, and like as much as you go online and look on your phone, that's how much the internet is. So if your life is always going online and look on the internet, then that's your life. But that is not real life, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, right? and definitely if you're new to the industry, you need to go to reptile shows. You need to vend at reptile shows. People need to know who you are. You know, Facts. For me, it's a little bit different. It's like, okay, you know, I've been there. I've done that. I've vended every reptile show for probably, 9 or 10 years. And then, you get to a point where, you have a couple negative experiences. You have a lot of positive experience. You have a couple negative experiences, but your stuff sells anyway. And then for me, it got to the point where it's like, well, I sell my stuff anyway. I don't need to go to reptile shows. I don't need to vend anymore. But I still, I think you still need to stay relevant. And so, I haven't, obviously with COVID, everything was shut down. You weren't able to vend for a few years. But, people have already started to be like, hey, man, you gotta come out and vend at least one show. We haven't seen you in a couple of years. And I'll eventually get out and vend another show. But, it's hard. And again, it's, for one, you always feel like you're hustling, but then, you always sell your stuff. So, again, I got to the point where it's like, well, if I can just sit at home in my underwear and sell this stuff, well, that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to go to a show and vend.
Underwear, fuck. I sometimes have to remind myself to put underwear on at this point. I roll out fucking just balls free, ready to rock and roll. Actually, no, I don't, because like I have neighbors close to me now, so I can't do that. But anyways, I know exactly what you mean, Corey, and I have a proposition for you. Just throwing it out there. Doesn't have to be this super show coming up, but imagine being invited to a reptile show where A, you're not vending, B, it's on the West Coast. Okay, we're in California, so that means whatever happens in the reptile show, you go out, there's beaches. We're having a good time. You're in a vacation mode. How about you consider maybe coming to a reptile super show on the West Coast?
I would consider that at some point. And I would potentially consider that.
All right. And then you could maybe it could be on the same week as Trap Fest, because I throw this huge event for all my Patreon members, but I have celebrity breeders who pull up. I would love for you to pull up. So Anaheim Reptile Super Show in July. I will maybe let you know more about it, but maybe if you could come in July, you could go to Trap Fest. Who knows?
Okay.
Hey, listen, this has been an amazing 2 hours and 15 minutes, but we do have a round 2 version of hot seat questions for you, Corey. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, guys, listen, if you have not already, I mean, the likes are really respectable. The likes are high as shit. So thank you so much. But please hit the like button if you have not yet for Corey. We have these round 2 hot seat questions to end this night in proper trap fashion. Here we go. You ready, Corey?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. Favorite dressing on a waffle?
Maple syrup.
Favorite codom in the ball python game?
Oh, fuck. I'd have to. You know what? I'd have to say pastel. As boring as it is, it's like the original codom.
Did you? This guy is so legend. He said pastel. I'm writing that down. Pastel. Oh my god. Okay.
It's the original codom. There, I have a lot of favorite codoms, but that's the original one.
This is nuts. Okay. Least favorite codom in the ball python game?
Would you is spider considered a codom?
I would say so. I mean,
yeah, that's my least favorite.
Okay, perfect. Number 1 arboreal species in the reptile industry?
Amazon basin emerald.
Yay imports or boo imports?
What was that again?
Would you, if this is, let's put, we're not talking Canada, because I got to remember you're in Canada. If you're in America and you're in charge of saying yay imports or boo imports, what would you say to that?
Oh, if you're talking about like, should we not allow imports like of captive bred stuff? I think it should be, it's captive bred. You don't even need permits. There should be no CITES. There shouldn't be anything. CITES should be for wild caught stuff.
What's one reptile you could think of, Corey, that should never be imported?
I think some of the lizards, the larger lizards, are harder to keep. They're more of a specialty. I guess they're crocodilians.
That makes sense. Crocodilians need to be left alone.
Yeah.
How about this? Number 1 ball python breeder in the United States?
I think that's hard to answer. You know, I know Justin Kaboka is quite popular right now. I have limited dealings with Justin, but I know he's quite popular right now.
I'm talking about Corey, and like I get it, like, right, like, for instance, remember when Backstreet Boys were just number 1? I'm talking about like, what is Corey like not the people's number 1, like, obvious choice. Who's Corey's number 1?
I mentioned him earlier, and you know, I'd have to say Ralph Davis.
Damn. I love it. One species of bird that you could keep. Like, what I mean by species, I'm talking about like predatory species. Like, what is one like wild species of bird you wish you could keep on your property?
If you're talking an indoor bird, we kept we had an African gray parrot for a number of years, a Timony African gray.
Wow.
I love working with the Timony, but they're not for everybody.
First thing you feed your hatchling ball python?
Live hopper mice.
Biggest meal you feed your female ball python?
Small rat.
Little word association. First thing to come to mind. Number 1 Europe customer. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. Number 1 overseas customer.
I deal with a lot of people. I wouldn't be able to pick just one.
Just give me one. Not making it number 1, just one you could just throw out there.
I know he's around, and a lot of people know who he is. You know, South Korea, Yonga Kim. You know, he's a good customer of mine.
South Korea. Hey, telling you right now, I Corey, to kind of go off subject here, I started a gecko or like a lizard segment on Sundays, and you know who Brian is from Altitude Exotics?
Yep.
Do you hear about his $480,000 day at Las Vegas? One, like it was three South Korean customers to make him that amount.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, respect to South Korea. Get a customer in South Korea if you can. Stuck shed.
I always remove it.
First time ball python breeder.
What do you mean?
It's a word association. So what do you think when you hear of a first-time ball python breeder? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Be real.
That's a tough one.
No, come on. What's the first thing?
What comes to my mind is patience.
Thank you. Okay, but there's also other things. That's not. I love it. Okay, moving forward. Here we go. Number one reptile show in the United States you would want to attend.
I love the Daytona shows.
What's the number one recessive a new breeder should get into?
Again, I love Orange Ghost.
I love it. Last but not least, if it came down to you eliminating one of these recessive genetics out of the game forever, ball pythons, obviously, and they could never come back, Corey. Might be a curveball, might not. But let's say you had to eliminate Ultramel or Monarch. Which one needs to go?
Ultramel.
Woo! From Canada's finest. Corey, we had just shy of 100 people tapped in for this episode. What an amazing round two. What do you have to say to all your supporters? And most importantly, everyone from Canada who tapped in tonight, what do you have to say to all your loved ones, Corey?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for the support. Thank you for all the people that ever bought stuff from me or have shown interest in animals for me. And, I'm glad that if I love the animals that I work with, there's a lot of other people that like the animals that I work with as well. And so I want to thanks for all the support. And, even if I don't get out there and do a lot of stuff, maybe I'll start going to shows again and start, interacting with people a little bit more.
Okay, I lied. Last bonus hot seat question. Hypo or Orange Ghost or DG?
Orange Ghost, but I love Desert Ghost.
That's it. We're leaving it at that. You just made a lot of people happy out there, Corey. Hey, listen, I'm going to say this right now. I'm not that I'm a fucking Mr. Predict the Future, but I feel like the next time I have you on this podcast, it could possibly be in person. And if that's the case, I cannot wait, Corey, because I literally am so inspired, not to make you feel weird. I'm just saying, bro, like you have been a huge inspiration to me from the get-go. And thank you so much for this episode. I appreciate it so much, but that's a wrap for Corey Woods of Corey Woods Reptiles, ladies and gentlemen. The Deputy.
Well, thank you so much, MJ, for having me on. And I really appreciate it. I know I turned you down a few times, and I love being on the show. And if you want me back, I'll definitely come back.
Wait. You didn't turn me down because I was a bully, was it?
No, I'm like, no, I just want to hide. I just want to stay and do everything low key.
Okay,
and plus it's like, again, I don't think of myself as being all that exciting. So, it's like, oh, what? I'm just a boring person. Why are you going to have me on your show? We got nothing to talk about.
So I shouldn't ask you to be a part. Like, I'm starting another YouTube podcast and I need a co-host. You don't want to be a part of it, huh?
Not a co-host. No, I will turn that down.
Hey, Corey, honestly, bro, you're the reason why my heart, as in this hobby, partially lives in Canada. I respect everything you do. Keep doing what you're doing, and have a good night, man. Thank you so much, Corey Woods of Corey Woods Reptiles, man.
Okay, thank you so much.
Later, bro. What a great episode. Everyone who tapped in, thank you so much. I had a good time. Ultramel people, sorry, damn. And that was a non-biased answer. I'm sorry. I don't have Ultramel or Monarch in my stuff at all. If I could change that, I would, but I don't. If you were to ask me, I like Monarch, but I do like Orange Ghost. Listen, I just had somebody on my show who just said Orange Ghost over everything. That is nuts. I've been wanting to scream that for so long, but I'm like, dude, who the fuck's going to listen to me? Well, guess what? Corey Woods would. Corey Woods would. I had a great time tonight. Thank you so much. If you had a good time, hey, PCF, are we good, PCF? Shout out to PCF Funny Royals. I'm glad he's in the building. PCF, can I earn your subscription? Can you subscribe? Can you be like maybe PCF and subscribe to my YouTube channel? If you enjoyed what Corey Woods had to say tonight, hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. You'll be on top of every single reptile podcast I drop on this channel. I'm telling you right now, I will bring the most relevant, most beneficial breeder to this platform that will help you get to the next level, not stay at the same level. Get to the next level. Come join us. Man, I'm fucking... Okay, hold on. Speaking of joining, go down, join the Trap Talk Patreon member, because these are people who are evolving. These are people who are like myself, looking to evolve by the day. And if you're not evolving, you're not living. If you really feel like you've grown everything you need to grow in life, then God bless you. I hope you're 110 years old. But if you're not, guess what? You're not done growing. Okay? I can tell you that much right now, especially if you don't have Orange Ghost in your collection. Orange Ghost. Corey Woods said it. Orange Ghost, #1 gene in the game. Guys, I had so much fun tonight. Thank you so much. Hit that. What am I saying? What are we at? Thursday night. This is the main event. So we had a good night tonight. Thank you so much. Hit that like button. Sunday, I do have somebody who I'm bringing to. This was somebody who had to come in through the clutch because I had somebody who had to reschedule on me for this Sunday, but that's fine because there has not been a gecko breeder I've had on the show for quite a while. So Sunday, gecko breeder fanatics, leopard gecko lovers, first and foremost, be ready because I'm bringing on geeky gecko creations this Sunday for my holy gecko sessions, going down 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time this Sunday, followed immediately after our Trap Talk Patreon after party, where all our Patreon members go face-to-face on Zoom. We catch up. We talk about stuff. And like I said, join the Patreon family. Don't sleep on us. Go follow Corey Woods on Instagram. And you will be a big Orange Ghost fan, or a big Orange Ghost fan like myself. Guys, have a good night. Thank you so much. Canada, thank you for showing up for our boy, Corey Woods. Like I said, I'm not the only one who thinks this, man, but we're talking about the finest ball python breeder out of Canada. And that night just happened. Have a good night. I'll see you here Sunday, and I'm out. Cheers.